a 3-day test divided in 2. It's still days in the car, and the crucial thing is as well, next week the first race is at this circuit, so you really get a chance to bed in, dial in, add bits to the car and see the journey that it's going to go on in terms of the development evolution and get a foot in the door. When you jump in mid-season, it's very difficult to get up to speed, and especially when the other guy's done the 16, 17 races and kind of steer in the direction that it's going as well, because of course Yuki's feedback last year will have been the critical one when he's the faster driver and De Vries was ousted halfway through. So Ricciardo's got a much better chance, I think.
You're back with us. Now, I'm going to say this once, and I'm going to say this once and for all. For those of you watching on Instagram, nothing's changed. For those of you watching on YouTube, that's now JB Motorsports, JB Motorsports 2, and JB Motorsports Twitch striked with unlawful copyright things. Now, I'm going to say this once. Get your act together. You've got a problem with content creators, you say it. Because I don't see Arav, I don't see anybody else who uses these systems the same as me getting these copyright strikes. So either this is a plea right now to Dorna, to FOM, to anybody listening. If you've got a problem with me specifically, you either hire me or I quit. Because this is getting ridiculous. In the past 2 days, we've had 3 strikes. One on Twitch, one on JB Motorsports 1, and now one on JB Motorsports 2. These same systems are being used by other content creators on YouTube. You got a problem with me, you do it. Otherwise, this ends now, and I will sue. I will. Now, that's me angry. Really angry. Let's get on with the test, shall we? God knows what we're doing now, because day 2 won't be live because of this strike. So we'll end day 1. God knows what we're doing tomorrow. Day 3 will move to Twitch. It's a disgrace. Absolute disgrace. Now, on board with George Russell. Having a good run so far on the track. Where is he on the timing screen? Let's have a look. He's moved up into 6th position. 1:34.230 was his last lap time. Of course, he was out there this morning on the run as well. So hopefully he'll be having a similar run this afternoon on the session. As he pulls down the back straightaway and towards turn number 11. A nice smooth inside line on that part of the track. Runs a little bit wide, touches some of the exit curb. Hugs the inside line nice and tight. Yep, still seems quite a good run around. Brakes hard, turns, oh, little snap coming into turn 13. He's on the C3 tyre compound, so this is the softest tyre we will have at the Bahrain Grand Prix next week. Drops down 2 gears, 3, 4 gears. Back on the power. And Russell, 7th gear, is going to take it across the line. Improves with his best lap time so far today. We're up to a 1:34.109. Very decent there on the board as he comes in. And just turns it on the inside now, having a good run around. So we'll return back to the world feed. I'm back in a second.
Up his nose, the tube got stuck up his nose in the first couple of laps of the race, and he somehow managed to extricate it, and then apparently got stuck up his nose.
I don't know how you could
horrible
concentrate doing that.
And then we go to Singapore, and he's the top qualifying Red Bull. Out-qualifies Max, Checo, and Yuki. I thought he was, and again with no knowledge of the car, no testing, no nothing. As you say, straight in, bang, done.
And scoring points.
Yeah, mate.
Really an incredible effort. So there's sticks everywhere if you're Red Bulls. If you're Sergio Perez, he knows that he's got to get closer to Max this year if he wants to keep that drive, and he'll probably know that he's got to do something even more special, because the way that he petered out at times last year, I think he's got to prove the doubters wrong rather than there's no doubters and see how you go. I think there's people that are already thinking, is he the man for the Red Bull seat? So Checo's got a tough job to do this year, and he's got to regroup, and he is very capable of starting the year very strongly. We've seen that already in his last couple of seasons. It's whether he can keep it on and stay close to Max. But then in the RB team, pressure's never off with those guys. There's Lawson ready to jump in if needed.
Lando Norris running that very simple very beautiful tribute to Gilles de Ferran. How wonderful would it have been to have seen what Gilles de Ferran could do in a Formula One car. A mighty talent, lost far too soon. Lando then completing the lap. 1:32.5 is Verstappen's time to beat. Lando won the C3 as well. Pulls it down the start-finish straight over the line. Will be a considerable margin off as he just gets up to speed and running in his first laps in the McLaren, a 1:35.781. So Lando Norris finally out on track and putting some laps in. One driver not out on track yet. Logan Sargent in the Williams, possibly not a surprise after his teammate Alex Albon's morning was brought to a premature halt. We can find out the exact reasons, I hope, right now.
Well, Alex, that's the end of the first day of pre-season testing, or your first day. How was it in the car?
It was okay. It's windy out there, it's hot, so not always the nicest conditions to drive in, but generally it was relatively smooth. We had a couple of issues towards the end of the session, all fixed now. Trying to understand the car, understand its envelope. Still a ways to go. We need to kind of understand just how different the car is, which it is. But yeah.
We saw those issues with you getting pushed off the track. Are we allowed to know what they are? Or are they
yeah, fuel pump issue. So car goes into safety mode pretty quickly. I think when these cars run out of fuel, they get very expensive. So yeah, I was stopping on track just with this safe mode thing in the car.
Now, you said ahead of driving the car, you felt that it was more of an all-rounder than last year's rocket on the straights. Was that borne out today, or is it still too early days?
Early days. Definitely fix some of the issues we've got in the car. So some of the corners, which have been one of the worst corners for our car around all tracks that we went to last year, they definitely seem to be better. But as a consequence, we're trying to now combat some other issues. Well, they're not issues; they're just balance trade-offs. So we're combating them now. We've got 3 days, obviously, which never feels like it's enough time. But we're getting there. We're making inroads already.
So what's your plan for the afternoon? Are you going to stick the cans on, sit on the pit wall, going for a massage? How's the body?
I think put the cans on, as you said. Pay attention, listen to Logan and what he has to say. I think we've had the filming day yesterday, so we had a bit of an idea of what the car was like. It's kind of the same, so need to hear what he has to say, come up with a game plan tomorrow. I'm in the car, what day is it today? Wednesday? Friday? So just trying to figure out how to get myself in the best place possible. Thank you.
Greg Stewart with the excellent questions.
Brilliant politician's answer there from Alex. How is the car better? It's better in some areas, but there are issues now in others. Oh, not issues, balanced trade-offs. Balanced trade-offs rather than issues.
We're better in the corners, but we've lost our straight line speed.
Yeah. I mean, it's so difficult for the drivers to tell. You hope that you've made an improvement. Even on the first morning, it's so difficult for the drivers to really know. You know, the whole field has moved on. We're now quicker than we were at any point in day one last year. We're 3 tenths quicker with Verstappen's time that he did this morning. And so it's to try and calibrate your mind back to Abu Dhabi in a race weekend to a dusty Bahrain circuit when you've had 40 laps that Alex had. It's quite difficult to know. You're comparing apples and pears, but it's more about a vague feeling, character traits, and obviously you combat one thing, there's a risk that you go too far or something else becomes an issue. And I just love that he changed the word issue to balanced trade-offs.
Love that.
That's the politician in him.
As he said, it was a fuel pump issue. As I understand it, they found an issue with it. He came in, they thought they'd fixed it, he went out, and then it recurred again. So we thought it was something to do with fuel. Not running out of fuel, but a fuel pump issue. Pick up. Not where it needed to be. Zhou Guanyu out on track now in that stake, and that's what they're going to do with the Flovis for this season. Not use the green, obviously. Use the red. Jolien, we've been talking about upgrades already, and it's only day one of pre-season testing, and obviously we have no idea what the teams have in their lockers, what they're intending to do, either over the course of these 3 days, the opening race, the opening 3-4 races, and when their first upgrades might come and what they might look like and what they might be. From working within F1 teams and racing in Formula One yourself, how locked in stone is the development progress package? all the scenarios that you're going to put yourself through as a team in these early parts of the season? How much of it is based on these 3 days, and how much is already locked in?
Oh, there's nothing in the pipeline now that is based on in today's thoughts. They're not having feedback from the drivers and thinking quickly, let's make a front wing or a floor that does that. It's all set in stone weeks or even longer in advance. So it's a lot of the early upgrades. We heard from Mike Crack earlier on saying there's some today, there's some tomorrow, some the next day, and there will definitely be a raft of new upgrades coming next week for the first race. But it's all so far down the development pipeline from the start of the year, at the end of last year, and trying to optimize the configuration of these parts before locking them in and making them, and then sending them out here to chuck on the car. If you finding out you've got faults now, it is a long way down the line before you can fundamentally correct them in the most cases.
As McLaren found out to their detriment last year. Lance Stroll out on track means that everybody that we are due to see today has been out on track, with the exception of Logan Sargent, who remains in the garage for Williams, and we'll be hearing from James Vowles, Williams F1 team principal, a little bit later on in this afternoon's testing. And with that, I'm delighted to say that Anthony Davidson has joined us in commentary, that Jolyon will be taking over the important role of taking you through everything. Anthony, hello, welcome back.
Hello, yeah, good to be back.
Have you been out on track again?
I haven't been out on track, but I want to. I mean, it's not going to be on air or anything, but I want to just go and see in the night session, just to go and get another angle from as the tracks continue to improve through today, and just to go and see just for my own eyes how the cars are looking. But I think Jolyon's due to be on track, not literally on track, but having a bit of a close.
I'll make sure I stay off track.
Stay off track, yeah.
I'm going to get as close to it as I possibly can.
That's the key. Yeah, that's the mission. It's great though when you get to see the cars when you up close, as close as you can get. You see the car move around in a different way somehow to studying the screens. The cameras seem to hide a lot of the small little snaps that you're looking for, and then when you're in the car itself, it's just heightened to another level once again.
And you've been racing for so many years. Does it still take your breath away the first time you stand trackside and watch these new F1 cars fly past you?
It really does. I mean, standing there at turn 1, you watch the deceleration. They're at 185 miles an hour, thundering down the pit straight, and they come into view. It's just like blink and you've missed it. And then if you blink again and you miss them, decelerating to 50 miles an hour at the apex, and you cannot. It's staggering to see that level of G-force going through the car and obviously the human body.
Lovely.
And inside the car, I don't know, because you're part of it, the car is like an extension of your body, and you're willing it on all the time to go faster. So in a way, time slows down. It's an odd sensation. So when you stand on the outside, you just think, oh my goodness, is that what you could literally step out of the car from one session and watch the next session and go, is that what I've been doing?
Yeah,
wow.
Because it's so peaceful in the cockpit.
I wouldn't say peaceful, but it's like I say, you're slowing time down, and yeah, you might. It's incredible what the human mind can do, and you're slowing that time down when you're in it, and when you stand to the outside, it takes you by surprise. They're such impressive machines. They really are.
Logan Sargent is getting suited and booted and ready to jump into his incredibly impressive machine, and Laura Winter has found his team principal James Vowles down in pit lane.
I have indeed. Thank you very much. We're in the paddock actually, but thank you so much. James Vowles alongside me. James, a tricky day so far for Williams. Let's firstly start with Alex Albon and this morning. Great to have you, by the way. Sorry, I'll get into the how was your winters in a minute, but we're going straight to the action.
I was going to say, you're straight into it. Okay,
I am,
excellent.
I know. I want the answers from you. The fuel pump issue.
Yes.
Talk us through that, what's happened. Do you feel that that's now an issue you can put behind you?
So winding back a bit, this morning obviously we didn't get as much performance running really where we can start playing with the car as we would like. We started with big, large aero rakes on the car. We want to make sure that the aero package is working like we expect. And they're these huge metal objects, and you can't really do performance runs that way. Took them off, started to get into running, and then unfortunately we had a slowdown on track that was picked up by the cameras. That was the start of the fuel pump issue. Made some changes here, and then afterwards it really put a stop to things on track. Now, it's something that wasn't picked up in sort of nearly a week worth of virtual track testing, which is unfortunate, but it's a problem that I'm glad we found now rather than next week. There's no points on the table as we speak at the moment. What it has done is delay our running. As you can see right now, we're having the opportunity to talk to you, but we're not out there with the car. That will happen very shortly. We took the opportunity as well as planned to change to Logan then. So a little bit of work more ongoing. The fuel pump's really bedded quite deep inside the car, as it would be for most teams up and down the grid. So it takes a little bit of time to change, but we'll be there shortly.
So that's the delay with Logan's car as well. You're just double checking everything's okay on that one as well. I guess, as Alex said, it's probably quite expensive if a Formula One car runs out of fuel out there.
Well, the fuel was okay. There was plenty of fuel inside it. It's physically, there were a number of pumps that work around the fuel cell. There's a low pressure side, which is moving fuel around. There's a high pressure side, and it is very high pressure. And it's that side of things that didn't perform as we wanted it to. So, long story short, plenty of fuel left in it, but unable to use it.
Okay, and I know how excited you were to get going. I listened to your comments at the launch, how excited you were to see the car head out here on track in Bahrain. I know it's therefore been a bit of a difficult day, but what was the emotion this morning after such a long winter of hard work to see the car come to fruition here?
Yeah, pride was the overwhelming feeling for me, and the reason is this. It's not a secret. Williams for many years has been in pain, is the words I would use. It's been a difficult situation. We're going through a transformation phase. We're going through really the new generation of what we want it to be in the future. And to do that, you can't do things without taking risks. We're taking enormous risks, both in terms of the technologies that we're using in the car. We've changed aero technologies and direction, mechanical. What we're doing with the chassis has changed enormously. What we're doing with how we produce carbon fiber has changed. And we're asking an organisation of 1,000 people to do all of that and yet still produce a racing car that's here behind us today. And it was pride that it all came together really well right at the last minute, but came really well together. So that was emotion number one. I mean, we were here for a filming day just yesterday, so it was the first time I got an opportunity to see the car drive out the garage. But even so, it sort of just reflects well on, it's not the work of any one human being anymore, it's the work of a team.
Yeah, for sure. And looking, of course, at the afternoon ahead of Logan Sargent, just talk us through the plans for him once he does get out on track, and then equally the next 2 days as well, what the focus will be, given the fact you have lost a tiny bit of track time today.
Hopefully not lap time.
Not lap time,
but
not yet.
Not yet. Not at all.
Not at all.
No, the main thing is this. The package itself, we've really got to get down to, have we addressed all of the balance issues that we had last year? And if we have, then how do we start setting this up to extract every millisecond from it? And there was a lot of work to do that. Now, before we came here, we turned thousands of laps in the simulator, but irrespective, we still want to make sure that that correlates, and then from that correlation, understand what we should be changing and how we change it. And the beauty of Bahrain, and I really do mean this in a good way, is that we're right here in the sun at the moment, and it's quite warm out on track. You get track temperatures up into the 50 degrees. We're going to go run into the evening, and that will run down to the 20 degrees, which is more akin to what we're going to get during the race weekend. And again, it's understanding how the car performs in each of those different conditions, because there are a set of tools that we can then use for all of the forthcoming races.
And James, how was your winter? We'll go back to the sort of social niceties I perhaps should have started with, wanted to get straight to the answers. But obviously now this is your second season with Williams. Last season you've moved somewhat up the paddock as well. Brilliant to see how you finished last season into P7. How was therefore your winter and getting really stuck in?
I think first and foremost, it was brilliant to spend time at home with family. I have a beautiful little daughter who, it was just fantastic
yes.
to...
First Christmas.
First Christmas,
yeah.
Exactly that. And it was nice just to dress her up in, as you would imagine, 1,000 outfits. I didn't do much of that.
Can you talk us through any of those outfits?
Probably not best. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them, but no, we would take all time up here, and I can't imagine that's the most interesting conversation point. But it was great to spend time with family. It was great to really take stock of what happened during the course of the year, and more importantly, really sit down with the team and start going through, here's where we are now, here's where we were, here's where we are now, here's where we want to be in the future. How do we get there together? And that sort of is very difficult to do once the racing car's out the door and working, and it's something you've got to do when there's the calm of the moment there. So it was my whilst second year here in Williams, it was my first build that I did with the team. And you're really able to explain what the build is. You're putting about 20,000 components together within a few weeks of each other, and that's tough. That stresses an organisation to the maximum. And I wanted to see, especially given all the changes we're making, where do we have to improve, and rapidly. And that's very clear now at the back end of it, and we can move forward as a unit with that in mind.
can I just ask, does baby girl have at least a Williams onesie? Do they make baby
She does.
girls?
Actually, that I can show you a picture of. She has a Williams onesie, genuinely, and a Williams teddy bear as well that's in private place. Very much.
We might see if we can get a hold of that photo for everyone to see at home. James, obviously Alex Albon last season very much grew into his role as a leader within the team, and he stepped up, and I always find when I speak to you I learn so much, and when I speak to Alex similarly I'm learning so much. He is so articulate in how he explains what is happening, how he feeds back to the team and indeed to us media as well. I guess that's a role in which he's just going to continue to grow for this season.
Yeah, the bit I'm really happy about is Alex's sort of last year, during the course of the year, you can almost plot it, started to step up quite significantly, and he hasn't finished his journey by any stretch of the imagination. He is a gentleman outside of the car. Helmet on though, he will race you for every last point that he can take out of it, and that's what I enjoy about him. And what he wants to bring everyone on the journey is the same way I do as well. We connect really well, and we've known each other for quite a few years now. He's a core part of the success we had last year, and he will be a core part of the success we have this year.
Logan as well, he's sort of come out in interviews at the launch saying he's put on 5 kilos. He's probably the only person who'd be happy to put on 5 kilos.
Yep.
He says most of it is muscle, and he feels in a much better, healthier space. Are you seeing that now on the first day of testing as we see him about to come out onto track?
Yeah, I'd say two things. First of all, I also put 5 kilos on in the winter, but
I think we all did.
I don't think it's the same way. No, what you see out of him, and you'll see it when you interview him now, he has a confidence that was not there last year. He's a different personality. He's now seen these tracks. He knows what to expect. He knows the pressure that's going to be on his shoulders. He knows that as the car steps up, he has to also match that. His training regime has completely changed. I spoke about the car, the design, the methodology is changing. Same with him. He knows that what he was doing last year, that's not fit for purpose anymore. We have to step it up. He has to be the surprise of the season and use the knowledge base that he spent 12 months gathering to good effect. And as I said, you can see that in body language and confidence already, and he's now got an opportunity to take it to the track and translate it there.
I saw him walking through the paddock earlier, and I thought just that. The shoulders were a bit higher, a bit further back, the head was up. It's exciting to see him grow. James, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And look, hopefully we'll see some great lap times, and indeed a lot of laps done for Logan Sargent this afternoon.
Fantastic.
Thank you, James.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Cheers.
Yes, and thank you very much, Laura. I've joined Anthony in the commentary box. I'm back with you for the next bit of this testing session. And as James was saying there, congratulations to James and Rachel on the birth of their daughter over the winter as well. But Anthony, as James was saying there, you know, it's a lot for Logan to learn. He's back in the seat for this season. There was some talk for a while that he maybe wouldn't get that seat for this year. He's back. He's got a lot to prove this year, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he does. You know, I mimic the words of James really on that one, that you know, last year was a learning year for him. It was a very public learning year, and you're under the spotlight, especially with a team like Williams. They have a lot of natural interest. There's a lot of history there. It's a team that everyone loves and have seen at some point in their Formula 1 journey, whether you're a team member or a fan watching on. We can all relate to that team, and we've seen it, you know, enjoyed and the ups and downs that they've had through that long history of theirs. And Logan, you know, you're always going to have the pressure on you in a team like Williams, whether you're at the sharp end of the grid or towards the tail end of the grid. As unfortunately they were for quite a bit of last year, but it does feel like it's a team that's on the up. There's great energy there. Great passion within that team, and with the help of James Vowles heading up the operations now as team principal, he brings that energy to the team as well, and I think they can all be inspired by him, by his dedication and his work ethic as well. He is an absolute workaholic, I think, in the truest sense, and he will turn that team around given time and the allowance. So yeah, I've got every faith that he can do that, and I think it's good of him as well to see that not every driver, you just plug them in and away they go.
Running,
exactly.
Yeah.
Some drivers lack a bit of confidence. They need to build that confidence over a season, and he said, I'll give you that. So, you know, he's keeping his end of the bargain, I guess, and saying, I give you a learning year. Now I'm expecting a bit of a difference this season. So, and Logan's taken that on board, clearly. You know, he's worked hard over the winter. He's put some muscle mass on. I think that's what they were alluding to anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
A nice
a
problem to
lot of
have.
us put on some kilos over the winter, but I can guarantee it's not
I
much.
think that's what James was saying. Yeah, a bit too much Christmas pudding.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like he's been doing that. He's been working hard in the gym and giving himself some. Because you remember, he was the only driver that had to retire from
Yes.
that brutal race.
I mean,
in
some came
Qatar.
some came very close, but
Oh,
he was the
yeah.
only one to retire. Yeah.
Exactly. So, you look within in times like that and think, I was the only driver. I know other drivers got close, but they didn't. They didn't retire. I did retire. So I'll rectify that. I'll improve my performances. I'll improve my own reliability as a driver. And I have to up the performance. It's everyone's striving to improve as an athlete, as a driver, and he's on that journey. And hopefully, it's exponential for him.
Logan in the car this afternoon then. Alex was in this morning. Most of the teams have swapped drivers for this afternoon apart from Mercedes and Red Bull. And here is Logan pulling to the side for practice start in the pit lane, looks like.
Yeah, that's a practice start. And interestingly, we spoke about this at the end of the first practice session, that George Russell was the only driver that did an actual start on the grid, on the circuit.
From pole.
He chose he chose pole position. Is that a sign of things to come? Who knows? But everybody. I was surprised that no other team decided to take the circuit. That yes, all right, it's not completely rubbered in yet, but the circuit changes vastly from throughout a single day, let alone day to day. So it's just, for me, it was just an extra collection of data that teams potentially missed out on then.
However, this afternoon's temperatures will be much more representative at the end of running today.
They will, and you'll put that into your database as
so
well.
maybe at the end of this session we'll see more trying to do it.
Perhaps, yeah, I'm sure. And whether you're on old tyres or not, it doesn't really matter. You're just, for me, it's just a data collection process.
So we saw the Sauber a minute ago. Zhou Guanyu is in this afternoon. Valtteri Bottas was at the wheel this morning. Pierre Gasly's got into the Alpine this afternoon. And you've also got Nico Hülkenberg in the Haas. As we mentioned before, Logan Sargent's in the Williams. Lance Stroll is in the Aston Martin. But, we've only had 2 laps from him so far in this session this afternoon.
Just smiling there, bringing back old memories, watching Logan Sargent at the wheel of the Williams. It's so nice. This time of the year is fantastic as a driver when you first step foot into the new machinery. And he would have heard the other drivers, Alex Albon's comments. He would have felt it in the simulator, but nothing beats actually getting into the car, first-hand experience, driving this new car. Quite a different car from last year as well, like James was saying, different philosophy there. They were really pushing hard as a team to get this thing here and on track in time and passing all of the tests you need to get in the car to where you want it to be. But when you drive the thing for the first time and you turn the steering wheel into the first corner, the first braking zone, and you just think, wow, yeah, that's... Well, hopefully it's better. Sometimes, and it has happened, that it's worse. I've experienced that in the past. But just when you feel the car for the first time, your senses are so heightened. It's brilliant.
Exciting times for the whole team, because those who've designed it and developed it will also get to see it on track for the first time. And a man who knows all about that is Pat Simmons, who's with Ted Kravitz at the moment in the pit lane. Ted.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Yes, it's time for Pat Chat. And before we get into Pat Chat, we're just going to have a look at the Red Bull RB20 leaving the garage because, they've just finished some repairs or some changes. And they're about to paint, you see the mechanic at the back of the rear wing, about to paint some of the Flow Viz paint on the rear wing before he goes out. Pat, firstly, hello. Have you wintered well?
Yeah, great winter. Looking forward to a great season.
Good stuff. Well, thanks for coming down for Pat Chat. What do you think of this Red Bull and what they've done and how many different avenues they've gone down? When you have statistically and in every other way the greatest Formula One car in the history of the sport with the RB19 with the results they had last year, how tempting is it just to keep with that and go with the development? And how unusual is it in your eyes that they've gone with such a departure? As much of a departure as it is.
I think, Ted, in Formula One, if you stand still, you go backwards, don't you? So you've got to keep pushing. And I think what happens as you develop a car the sort of evolutionary development, you'll always get to a point where you've got something that's blocking you, something that, oh, I wish I could go further, but to do it I need to change something in the fundamental design. I think that, yeah, it looks very different. There's some very interesting features, but I think they're evolutionary rather than revolutionary.
Because even, okay, you do think they're evolutionary, because even if they had carried on and, you've designed, you've been technical director, you've been designer, you've been chief technical officer, etc., etc. Had they stood still, and nobody would have expected them to stay still over the winter, they would have been passed by everybody else. But in a sense, they've seen enough growth. And does that make you pleased with the current rules formula, that there is room to see enough growth in a different avenue or different areas of exploitation on these cars?
Yeah, absolutely. When this set of rules came out for 2022, we'll just let them go out, should we?
So it's the hard tyre going out. You can see the Flovis paint on the back. And if that's the hard tyre, then I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a decent level of fuel on. But sorry, carry on.
Yeah, when these rules came out in 2022, I think a lot of people felt they were very restrictive, and in certain areas they are, because of course the objective was to allow the cars to be racing closer together, so there were certain things we needed to be quite prescriptive about, but there were so many other areas. And I think what we saw with Red Bull over the last couple of years is that they understood those areas, they understood where to exploit the new rules, and I think what we're seeing in 24 is they've taken that a little bit further. The internal flow of the air in the car, the flow that's going through the engine bay, through the coolers and things, is often overlooked because it's not quite so visible. But it's massively important. It's all part of the sort of incredibly complex airflow structures that go to make a good racing car or a poor racing car.
Have you seen the new air intakes they have? So before they were coming in over the top, now they're coming in underneath. I'm indebted to a correspondent of mine, Max Kingsley-Jones, a Lotus aficionado, who sent me a picture of the BAC Concorde and the intakes for the Olympus engines, if you can imagine them, are similar, like the one you might find on a F-18 jet fighter. It's a similar sort of cue Adrian seems to have taken.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you're an aircraft guy, Ted, so you'll know about these things, and you'll know that quite often you have a bit of a standoff to the intakes because the boundary layer, which is a slightly dead air, sort of sticks to the side of in our case, the survival cell, in an aircraft's case, the fuselage. So you try and pull away from that a little bit. But actually on the Red Bull, what we see is this very narrow inlet, which is actually very, very close to the bodywork. But, they absolutely will have done all the simulation, all the testing. They certainly know how that's going to work, so I don't think they'll have any problems with that.
Okay, well, if it can go as quickly as a Concorde or a F-18, they'll be doing very well. Interesting scene outside Mercedes here. We've got not only an old sparring partner of yours, Gary Anderson, ex-Stewart, Jaguar, Jordan, etc., talking to John Owen, the chief engineer, chief designer of Mercedes, is Toto Wolff, and the sporting manager Ron Meadows. A lot of attention. You can see they're looking at this front wing, and you talk about exploration of the rules, looking at loopholes, and this one on the inside of the top flap on the Mercedes is just perfect. I'm giving it a chef's kiss. I love the way they found a loophole. They've managed to say, no, that is the continuation of that top flap. It just so happens that we only made it about 50 mil, no, it's less than that, it's about 5 mil wide.
Yeah, that's right, and there's a very interesting interpretation. In fact, there's another wing which is, well, we can see it properly, but I think that what is interesting is that in Article 3, which really dictates how the aerodynamic shapes are produced, it's very clear in the opening statements that the aim of the rules is to ensure we get this close following that I was talking about earlier. So really, when you start to get things that are perhaps producing some outwash, and here I think what we're seeing is is really trying to reinstate quite a strong vortex to push that very turbulent air that's coming from the front wheels, try and push it aside. One questions then, yeah, is that really within the spirit of the rules? It's within the regulations, it's within the letter of the law, there's absolutely no doubt about it. Is it the sort of thing we want? Well, I don't know, that's perhaps a bit more debatable. But I think we need to know really how strong is the effect. And the FIA now have a very good aerodynamic group, the group that used to work for me, that are capable of looking at these things and saying, yeah, actually, there's nothing wrong with that, or no, hang on, this is starting a trend we don't really want to see. Okay, we will have seen that.
Yeah, I mean, Mercedes would have gone down started that dialogue at least with the group you talked about with Nicholas Tombassis at the FIA as well. But I mean, I know there's no such thing as spirit of the regulations, only letter of the regulations. But we have seen the FIA and yourselves keen to put a little dampener on maybe areas of unnecessary exploitation. Is that what you're saying? You want to see whether it's something that you just want to close off because down that route too much spending or unnecessary exploitation lies?
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't use the word unnecessary, because everything's worth exploiting on a racing car. If there's anything to be gained, yeah, we can actually see that much better now that the wing is on. It's more a question of what's good for the sport rather than what's good for Mercedes, what's good for Red Bull. And of course, you know, I've jumped the fence a few years ago, so now I'm trying to look at what's good for the sport. And without a doubt, what's good for the sport is good close racing. So anything that promotes good racing is good. Anything that detracts from that ability to race close is poor in my mind.
Well, if it's great and it means that they're racing Red Bull, and if Ferrari's got anything, they're all racing together to within a tenth of a second, then surely that's fine and they can keep it.
Yeah, it is. And I think one of the things I was very pleased about last year was when we really said about what did we want for the 2022 car, we set a number of objectives, and one of those was to try and halve the gap between the front and the back of the grid. Now, it's been 3% in terms of lap time for year after year after year, and in 2022 it remained at 3%. I was a little bit disappointed because we've done some very subtle things, but the things that I knew from my experience were difficult areas, so we tried to eliminate those. We didn't succeed in 22, but what happens when you keep regulations effectively very similar, and we haven't had many changes in 23 or 24, you get the convergence. And that's what we saw in 23, where we actually got to our objective. We had more or less the 1.5% difference front to rear. There were many times when we were seeing 7 different cars in the top 10. One time we saw 8 different teams making the top 10. Now that's the sort of thing that I think is good for the sport.
Okay. All right, well, we've done a couple of technical things. I want to ask you a human question now, Pat, because as we move from Mercedes to Ferrari, of course, another person who's moving from Mercedes to Ferrari next year is Lewis Hamilton. And we're yet to hear from him about what made him change his mind. But I wanted to ask you, I have a personal theory. He spent a lot of his Christmas and New Year in Brazil, and we know that Ayrton was always Lewis's childhood hero. Now, of course, you have a early relationship. You knew Ayrton Senna very well, and I don't think it's any secret that after his Williams drive, Ayrton wanted to finish his career at Ferrari. I think that's been documented over the years. Do you see something similar, or do you think that Lewis, and we'll wait to hear from him, looks like Ferrari just coming in for a stop, so we'll just stay well out of the way. But do you think Lewis considered that, well, if he's not in a Red Bull, then he wants to try his luck with another team to try to get the 8th championship?
Yeah, I think there is something of that, actually, Ted. I have to say, as we moved from Mercedes to Ferrari, we probably didn't get paid quite as much as he will do for that move, but nevertheless, you know, these guys, they are sportsmen at heart, and there is that sort of romanticism about it. Ferrari is a name, it's what every kid dreams of. So yeah, I think, you know, he's achieved so much that is that a gamble worth taking? Yes, of course it is. Of course it is. And let's face it, Ferrari were quick last year. Ferrari were better than their championship results really showed. There were times when they shot themselves in the foot, but fundamentally they had a car that was very quick in qualifying and was reasonable, not as good as Red Bull, but reasonable in the race. So if they're putting in place things to take that further, yeah, it could be a very good move.
And how much are you, let's wait for Carlos Sainz to get going again. How much are you a believer in making a driver-friendly car that might not in the wind tunnel or in data amount to the most amazing figures you've ever seen, but at least is sure to give the drivers something with which they feel comfortable, which is what Ferrari say they have this year that maybe they didn't have last year?
Well, to some extent it depends who your driver is. Now, a good example of this was when I worked with Michael Schumacher and Renault, and we were able to, Benetton, and we were able to produce a car that was basically quite unstable, which was a very quick car. Now we could do that because he was capable of handling it, and all his teammates struggled with it. So there is quite a lot in trying to make the car suit the driver, but nice to drive is generally not the quickest, so if you handle it another way, that's good. But there's another aspect to it as well, Ted, that you said something like, maybe not giving the best numbers in the wind tunnel, etc. But that's really not what it's all about. It's about drivability. And we see it here in Bahrain because we get a lot of wind here in Bahrain, and that's one of the things that can separate a good car from a bad car. And we heard last year, for example, Williams complaining that in a crosswind their car was poor. Now that's what we call yaw sensitivity in aerodynamics. And that's an incredibly important part in producing a benign car, a car that's reasonably easy to drive, a car that when you arrive at corner you know what it's going to do, because that's what it did last time. So that aspect of it is really important, no matter how good your driver is.
We come to McLaren now, so they're fairly normal in we have to have a look at the car itself. We've got the pull rod, front suspension. They've gone to a push rod, rear suspension, as a lot of people have. Do you feel do you have any views either way on suspension geometries?
No, I don't think it's terribly important actually, Ted. When I first laid out a 2014 car, I felt that with the slightly lower nose that was forced by the regulations, that a pull rod front would be better. And one of my designers at the time did a very elegant solution, although we actually stayed with the push rod at that time. But generally speaking, any structure likes to be in tension rather than compression, but aerodynamics rules it in the end.
Okay, and one thought while we're here at McLaren, you can see Lando Norris is wearing a helmet tribute to Gilles de Ferran, the late great Brazilian racing driver, Indy champion, and McLaren, young driver. He used to be their sporting director, of course. Now he was in charge latterly of their young driver program. Such a gentleman, such a lover of life, and so sad to have lost him at the end of last year.
Yeah, great guy. Got to know him pretty well actually in his McLaren time, because prior to that he spent a lot of time in the States. But you're right, a real gentleman, a guy who could sit down and have a really good conversation with, a guy who I thought had a very rounded view of racing. He'd driven, and sometimes our drivers will come into a team and they don't quite understand all the nuances, or should I say the difficulties that the team experience in getting that car to where it is today. But I felt Gilles did understand a lot of that. So yeah, very sad loss indeed.
Right, let's just see what Lando Norris is about to do on there. What about, as we just finish up, maybe a thought on Aston Martin and your old team Williams? Any rule changes that we've had this year? I know we've had the schedule changes with sprint races, I might ask you in a bit, but any other rule changes on the cars we should look out?
Well, the rule changes have been relatively few for this year. really, because we've got some big changes coming up in 26. So we really want to keep 24 and 25 without too many big rule changes. Now we have to react to things, so row hoops, for example, 140 kilonewton load on them this year, and that is a reaction to what happened at Silverstone.
The Zhou Guanyu crash of, it's a couple of years ago now.
It is, but it takes a while to bring these things in. Yeah, you can't knee-jerk to them, you have to research them. So, it is a couple of years to a year and a half to bring that in. They've been interesting, a little bit of relaxation over some of the stiffness tests on the floor and things, because I think that the FIA have realised they weren't that necessary. And similarly, of course, some of the very complex measurements that were made to do with porpoising have gone now, because porpoising hasn't gone away, but it's not the problem that it was. So the rule changes are quite minimal, and that means that a lot of what we're seeing is really development. McLaren and Aston Martin very much in that sort of ilk, really. There's nothing radical I've seen on either of these cars yet, but there are the subtle changes, and these are the sort of subtle changes that I think when you get stable regulations, you get this convergence I was talking about earlier. So, yeah, Red Bull ran away with it last year, and they've got a good head start to this year. But I really think we should see others pulling up to them, as indeed we saw with McLaren last year.
Okay, so just to take you back to those metrics on the porpoising, that's been relaxed or gone completely? Because, you know, these teams, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile, and they don't care if it starts banging on the ground, if it's quick another way.
No, it's sort of gone away. They don't have to worry too much about that anymore, but alongside it is a tightening up of the mounting of the plank, which was an area where people were certainly pushing the limits of the rules, and of course the plank wear rule that caught out a couple of teams in Austin last year, and that will be rigidly enforced this year.
Okay, and just mentioning the rule changes to the sprint weekends. Of course, we have 6 of them. The first in Shanghai, I think, is the first one we come to. That seems to be very well received by all the fans, Pat, that we now have this separation of qualifying and sprint day to day. What was the thinking behind the formation of that?
Yeah, it's interesting, because our initial thinking, and therefore the sort of regime that we put in place for 23, was that we would separate out the sprint completely, so we had sprint day. But I think one of the great things about Formula One at the moment, since Liberty took over, is that they do engage with the fans, they do listen to the fans, and it's a hell of a balancing act, because we've got our new fans, we've got a lot more diversity in our fans, but we've still got our really core enthusiastic fans, and we want to keep them. They're very important to us. So we've always got to balance what we do. But as you say, it seemed pretty universal that people wanted to see qualifying for the Grand Prix on a Saturday afternoon. And so, okay, we said we can do that. And it gave us the opportunity as well to enable a little bit more work to be done on the car, so you didn't get stuck in the corner because you set up your car on Friday morning and that was it. Now that's a bit of a double-edged sword, because of course it's better for the teams to ensure they haven't made a mistake. But I'm actually, and I was saying earlier, I jumped the fence a few years ago, and now to me it's about good racing. And actually I think jeopardy is quite an interesting part of any sport. It's why football's exciting, isn't it? Because you never quite know what the result's going to be. You get the giant killers, you get the guys at the bottom of the table beating the guys at the top. And that sort of jeopardy is always good for sport. So maybe we've lost a little bit of that jeopardy by allowing a bit more time to try and achieve perfection. But overall, I think it'll be a good move.
Okay, so Friday will be practice 1 and then sprint qualifying. Saturday morning will be the sprint race, Saturday afternoon Grand Prix qualifying, and then Sunday the race. When are there going to be 2 parc fermes, or what you're saying is that they'll effectively...
Exactly, until you get to qualifying for the Grand Prix.
We're do you anticipate people would change cars significantly for the sprint race, between a sprint race on a Saturday morning and a qualifying Grand Prix qualifying? I suppose they would. Can't think of how they would at the moment, but they probably would.
Well, when we first sort of mooted this a few years ago, I was quite worried because, you know, I belong to an era where we had qualifying cars, and at Renault we had a special car for qualifying and a small fuel tank and all sorts of things. So theoretically you could go that far, but there are two things that mitigate against that. One is the budget cap, and you know, now we've got a budget cap and the budget cap is working reasonably well. I honestly think that we can afford to relax rules a little bit. And the other thing is, as you said, you've got a sprint on Saturday morning, you've got qualifying in the afternoon, and the qualifying car for the Grand Prix has to be exactly the same as the car for the Grand Prix on Sunday. So you've got a very limited time to do any changes. We'll see a few things, there's no doubt about it, but they'll be relatively trivial, I think. We've actually had to ensure that we've got enough time, so if someone has an accident in the sprint, they've got every chance to get a car out in qualifying. So not only have we relaxed Parc Fermé, but also the rules around the spare cars have been relaxed a little bit.
To allow them to build up the spare cars a little more, because that will be tight between the sprint racing.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. These guys here, Williams did a fantastic job actually in Suzuka a few years ago, where they rebuilt a car in record time, but we've tried to make it a little bit easier for them this year.
Final thought on two of your ex-teams. Alpine, of course, started off as, well, the Enstone team, as they still are. They've gone a very lightweight stickers or paint route. I know their fans, you know, a lot of them, that matters, liveries matter to people watching on TV. They want it to be a colourful sport as well as an easily recognisable one. While you can understand them wanting to save weight, maybe if we've gone a bit over the top, you can save an amount of weight, but then it doesn't make sense if it looks like a ghost car and you can't really recognise which one it is.
Yeah, I think you're right up to an extent, Ted. And I know Martin Brundle's very keen on this and says all the cars are looking too black. This is probably the extreme with the Alpine, but generally speaking, I don't think it's a problem at the moment. If it went any further, if all the cars started looking like this, then yes, it would be a problem. And I think it's something we can control and we are entitled to control. So let's see how it develops.
And just before we have a final question about 2026, I thought on one of your other old teams, Williams, your last team, in fact, I believe, the direction they're going, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they came up pretty well last year, didn't they? And certainly in Albon, they've got a great driver in there as well. So, again, they've got the stability, they've got the continuity, they've got, as every team, they've got the same two drivers, reasonably unchanged set of regulations, and a good budget. So, no excuses now, we've got to get on with it.
Brilliant. Listen, last question, and I'm prompted to ask this by the event sponsors Aramco, because they're working with you a lot on the 2026 sustainable fuels. We're already making Formula One more sustainable in terms of the calendar. For the first time, Japan is going to be in the spring. It'll be cherry blossom season in Japan. I don't think I've ever been to Japan in April, so it'll be interesting to be in there, twinned with China and keeping all the freight in that kind of area of the world. So trying on that part. And the sustainable fuels, can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Aramco, you're quite right, were very helpful to us in the early days. As a partner of Formula One, you know, they helped us formulate our ideas. But it's gone on a long way since then. And it's gone into that sort of white heat of competition now, where all the fuel manufacturers are working very hard on the sustainable fuels. It's a really difficult thing to do, and you know, we're talking with them regularly about the problems that they come up against, and those problems are really about obtaining enough quantity of the product that they need, because it's so early in the sort of total development of these sort of ideas. But we'll hit the ground running in 26, I'm sure of that, and we will have something that I I feel really strongly about this, that I can put my hand on my heart and say this is a sustainable fuel. There are some out there where they're not as sustainable as they might be. But we're doing everything we can to promote that sustainability, to promote the technologies that lead to that sustainability. And yeah, I think it is an exciting project.
It's the beginning, well, not the beginning of a long road, but some way down that long road, which at the end of it is putting sustainable fuel in the 2 billion internal combustion engines there are in cars around on the planet.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And yeah, it will take time to make the product, but when you make the product, everything else is there. The infrastructure is there, you don't need to change the vehicles. And the technologies are similar whether you're making the EN228 type fuel, we call it, the fuel that will go in a road car and indeed will go in a Formula 1 car in 26, or the fuel that flies you around the world to watch you race.
Brilliant. Okay, well listen, thank you so much. Pat Simmons, of course, Chief Technical Officer, Designer, Race Engineer Extraordinaire, and of course now with us at Formula 1. That is Pat Chat from testing in 2024. Thank you very much, Pat. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Ted. Thank you, Pat, as well. Anthony, they touched on it at the start there about Lewis Hamilton's move to Ferrari. We haven't talked about this yet during this session, but I know a lot of people were surprised by the move. I've said I wasn't, because I always envisaged that he wouldn't finish his career without wearing the red one day. But timing-wise, was surprised. What about you?
No, I was surprised by it. I really thought that having been backed by Mercedes from 12 or 13 years old, he spent his entire career with them, karting all the way through. I just naturally assumed that that's where he would end his days as well as a racing driver. So it was a surprise to me. So yeah, hearing the news that he's going to Ferrari, it's definitely exciting. I think it's a boost for the whole sport. It certainly grabbed all of the headlines that particular day, and it's not like it's been a completely quiet off-season in Formula 1. So
we've been busy.
Yeah, it was massive news, and it'll be massive news in Italy for our Italian fans out there and supporters of Ferrari, which of course are vast. The Tifosi, to name but a few, that come to support them. It'll be both in Imola and Monza, of course, this year, but all around the world, Ferrari fans. I think you could go as far to say it's global. It's newsworthy on global scale. Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari, two massive names in motorsport. So yeah, it's exciting. But no, I was certainly shocked by it. Not shocked, surprised. Yeah.
Did you not think, though, as a young boy watching karting, watching Formula 1, that you wanted to one day wear the red of Ferrari?
I think, yeah, the lure of wearing that red suit, driving for such a team, such a historic team and successful team, the most successful team in Formula 1 still to this day, and just to try to emulate the legends that have driven there and to feel that story to such a magnitude within Ferrari. And it's something that everyone...
You can't see it, but the smile on his face right now as he talks about it, and I can see your eyes glazing over. That to me is why he went there, because that's in you as a child watching karting watching Formula 1 on TV when you go through the sport. That
I don't think it's the only reason he's gone there.
No, I agree. But
and I don't think it's as simple as he feels that's a better bet to go and win a world championship either. I think probably deep down he realises, like a lot of us, realise that possibly until 2026 at least, when there's another huge regulation shift, that this is Red Bulls and Red Bulls only. I think it's Max's to lose, and I'll say the same thing again right now, like I did this time last year. Yeah, because it's like Pat was saying, they've got the advantage, they've got the head start. They're the first ones running up the mountain, way ahead of anybody else. And they've got loads in reserve, and they could afford to sit and wait and refuel, waiting for the others to catch up, and now they're off again. It's that's how I see Red Bull coming into this season. And sure, the other teams are going to try as hard as they can to catch up, and Lewis is part of that at Mercedes. I don't think it's as simple. I don't think you can just pin it on one thing. It's not just about the red suit. It's not just about he thinks perhaps it's a better chance of going and winning a world championship, his 8th world championship. I think there's a lot more complexity to it.
Well, we are looking right now at one of the teams who made a big development step in the second half of last season. That is McLaren, of course, with Lando Norris. Got the fastest time on the board overall now, 1:32.4. They've been making lots of little setup changes, all planned changes to this car today. So although it hasn't been on track as much as others, it is all planned. They haven't had any issues, the team telling us. So it's been some good running for them, and they've put a good time on the board.
Well, don't forget, you're still, I mean, it looks like you've got a sea of tyres available when you look at the tyre charts from Pirelli here. What is it, 35 sets that they can have over the course of 3 days. Seems like loads, but actually, in reality, you know, the two softest sets of tyres that you can run here, the C4 and the C5, it's not really, they're out of the window because that's not going to be the tyre for next week. So, you know, forget those two or
McLaren didn't even bring any. They
didn't even bring, yeah.
They didn't ask for any here for him.
Red Bull, I think, don't even have any of the soft of the C5 either. So the majority of the, you know, the majority of the work you'll be doing is on the yellow sidewall tyre, the C3s. That's the medium. You would call it the medium here. That's going to be your soft tyre next weekend. So in terms of valuable tyres that you can really knuckle down and look at and study and get the data from, it's the C3 tyre. And then you have a few of the harder tyres, the C1s, the C2s. I think that's the C2 that we see there down at Williams. So they're the ones with the broad white stripe all the way around with the brackets.
Yeah.
And the C1, so therefore the hardest tyre that we have here doesn't have, see on the right front tyre, you can see just the white stripe. The C1 tyre, the hardest tyre, doesn't have that white stripe. So that's what you're looking out for.
Just has the writing in white.
Exactly. So they're the three tyres I'm mostly interested in this test week. And those sets of tyres quickly go. So you have to say, well, day one, you go through the preliminary checks of ride heights, the aero rakes that you run, all that kind of base work that you need to get done. It's a necessity, maybe cruise runs as well, where you're targeting a fixed speed on the straights. All kinds of stuff happens during these this first day of testing. And then when things get more serious, as you go through the week, then you might start to throw more sets at the circuit.
So we saw Carlos Sainz. He also put in a 1:32 a little bit earlier on, and obviously we're on board with him now. His seat at Ferrari is gone. He now needs to find a seat for 2025.
Yeah, I feel you know it's the only other team in Red Bull to win a race last year, and Carlos was that driver to make it happen. It's a really lively rear end there through turn 2, but Carlos is such a professional. That's how I see him. He's always there. He's a solid driver. He's I think in mixed conditions he's very, very good. Such a wise head that he has, and he showcased that brilliantly in Singapore last year, playing the old DRS game with his good old buddy Lando Norris behind him, using him basically to protect himself with the. I mean, how clever is that? So he's a very wise driver, and I feel this is the moment. By the way, I mean, it looked a little bit more dramatic from the outside. It's just quickly corrected by him in the moment. They're the challenges that you face through turn 2 time and time again. But no, it's just. I'm sure he's got a lot of fans out there that are gutted to see him going. But when Lewis Hamilton comes knocking at the door,
it's hard for a team
not to open it.
So where does Carlos go then? Because you mentioned that. I mean, there has been talk of suggestion that maybe he'll go to Sauber, which will become Audi in 2026. Is that an option for him, perhaps?
Yeah,
or where else do you see him going?
I assume that's going to happen. I think that. I just think that's a very good place for an experienced, like I say, professional racer like he is to end up to help nurture a new team. It's still Sauber, of course, isn't it? But there'll be new people within that team that want to make their own mark. It's a moment in time in Formula One, and I think he'll be a brilliant driver to help guide and measure the aspirations and perhaps slight over-optimism as well in some moments. I think he's an excellent driver in those kind. And we see it Ferrari as well, don't we? When sometimes the strategy is wavering a little bit, going off piste slightly, he's always there to kind of rein it back in and keep people's feet on the ground. I see him as that kind of stalwart of a driver that speaks with authority. So I think that will go a long way if he is to go if he turns up at Audi. And I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest to see him.
Reconnect with Andreas Seidel.
Well, yeah, exactly. There's that working relationship right there.
And congratulations to Carlos Sainz Sr., who's here this week, who won the Dakar Rally again. What a fantastic performance. That was incredible.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Definitely, Carlos Jr., absolute chip off the old block, isn't he, in that respect?
So this is on board with Daniel Ricciardo then from the RB team, which is still getting to me. I'll get used to it by the end of the week. It'll be fine.
So sorry, what are you calling it? RB.
RB.
The RB.
Well, that's what everyone else is calling it, but I struggle because obviously that's what I get called quite a lot.
And whenever we call it an RB, I just instantly assume we're talking about the chassis from Red Bull. Which is the RB20.
I wanted to call it Racing Bulls because that's what a company's house registration is. I wanted to call it Racing Bulls. But nobody followed me. I did it that myself. I'm capable of using Google. It's quite an incredible tool.
You're quite the detective.
But anyway, they are the RBs. Listen, Daniel Ricciardo, it's quite a big year for him, isn't it? I mean, I know he came in halfway through last year and then he had the injury. But this is a chance right now. That Red Bull seat, if you heard rumours over the winter about Alex Albon possibly being spoken to about a future return to the Red Bull team at some point, whereas Williams said, no, we've got him signed up for X number of years. This is important, isn't it, for Daniel now this year?
It really is. He had that, it's a bit harsh to say that Flash in the Pan race in Mexico, but it really stood out, didn't it?
Yeah.
Daniel's performance in Mexico was, I think it was the drive of the weekend. It was phenomenal, that performance. The speed he extracted from that car, and you just think, I know it's a strong circuit for him traditionally, but yeah, he was right there in the mix at the sharp end of the race, and yeah, what a performance. So he's fighting with drivers like Lewis Hamilton, George Russell. He's right up there in the mix. It was brilliant stuff, and I just wish I could have seen a bit more of that through the season. And I know he had the incident, of course, in Zandvoort, but that was a real shame. But we did get to see Liam Lawson in action as well, which I heard the guys talking about earlier on.
Great talent.
It was phenomenal what he did. I think it's only retrospectively, because we lived in the moment, didn't we, when we saw him jump in, and we're in the heat of it as well. Absolutely embroiled in that relentless calendar that Formula One has become now, and it's only through the winter back. Yeah, the job that Liam Lawson did, I think he can hold his head very high and be extremely proud of what he did, because that isn't easy. So yeah, hats off to that performance as well. And he's waiting in the wings. If Ricciardo can't deliver those kind of performances that we saw in Mexico, they need to come more often. That's the kind of level that we're expecting from Daniel Ricciardo, and I'm sure he wants that. He wants to tap into that again as many times.
What it was that made him so comfortable and confident that weekend. That
it wasn't the car. It wasn't the car. That was
his
all
feeling
him.
was in the car was well, you saw there the sun setting. We still have 2 hours to run because we run into the evening here on testing, so we finish at 7 o'clock local time in 2 hours time here in Bahrain. So the temperature, the conditions getting more to what they'll be for the actual race in a week's time, just over a week's time here at the circuit, and for qualifying on the Saturday as well. And most out on the C3 right now, out on track. Nico Hulkenberg's on a C2.
This is Lando on the
yellow.
Yeah, this is Lando on the C2, and I love watching him drive. He's so feisty, and you can clearly see he's feeling at home there at the team. Starting this season in 2024, it feels like it's his team. I know Piastri ran him hard last year, but the confidence that I see, that you spoke about body language of the car and people around in the paddock, and I see the stuff he's able to do in this car, the way he hustles the car towards the entry, those quick hand movements, the decisiveness on turning that he has. I saw that into turn 11, again there into turn 1. It's you need a special level of confidence in your machinery to be able to drive like that.
And I did mention it actually. in a pre-season, that it's a big year for him to mould that team around him now. He and George both are in positions where they need to mould their teams around them and really, really work hard with the team this year to get what they want out of it.
Exactly, and where we touched on this earlier on in today's practice session, and speaking of Max Verstappen, there he is again. You earn the right in the team to carry development for the car in the direction you want to take it. And you can only do that if the performance is there over your teammates. And that's what Max has obviously been able to establish there at Red Bull. And you see a close competition between Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri last season. And I'm looking forward to that fight developing this season, and it's now down to those two drivers to really stamp their authority in the team to help take the car on the development side of things to how they like to drive.
Max is back out then, Fernando clipping his top time from earlier on as Carlos Sainz comes back into the pits. Max and George, should reiterate, the only two doing a full day's running today in their respective cars. The other teams have all switched from the drivers who were in from this morning. So you'll see Perez and Hamilton no time, but that's because they haven't driven yet today.
I thought that looked pretty good from Max from turn 1 through towards turn 4, and sets the fastest first sector of all as he heads now down towards turn 9. Car's sparking away, but still the ride of the car looking very planted. Flovy's paint still all over the rear end of that Red Bull. On the rear wing, now coming down towards turn 11, grab a bit of extra curb on the right-hand side and get on the power as early as you can, but keeping check of what the rear end is doing mid-corner. You daren't let that step out, flat out through turn 12 on this particular lap to go 6.5 tenths up almost by the middle sector. The rear end just stepping out now towards the end of that. The rear tyres start to cry enough, and you've got to keep that in mind before braking and turning into the final corner, because you've had a warning sign in turn 13, and sure enough the rear looks pretty sorted there as well. DRS over one final time in the lap and a 31.6. Just to put that into context, the fastest lap in qualifying that he did last year was a 29.7.
So we're way off, but we'd expect to be at this point, but that's still a quick time and a decent lap and an answer to McLaren to say, yeah, we got loads more in the tank.
I can tell you, yeah, quite literally, I can tell you now.
More in the tank.
Oh, look.
Okay, my thanks to the world feed as we see Gianpiero Lambesi just going across there. Apologies, I've been away for so long. I've been sorting out 1,001 different emails and copyright procedures as well, so it's all been absolutely chaotic. But we're back for the last 2 hours of this test. If you're watching us on JB Motorsports 2, we are going to lose live access for the remainder of this test on YouTube. So if you're watching us on JB Motorsports on the delayed coverage, that's how we'll be on YouTube this weekend. Twitch will return on Friday. Tomorrow, live coverage only on Instagram with the full upload of the session premiering on JB Motorsports. Friday, we'll be back live on Twitch as well as Instagram. And then next week, normal service will be resumed as well with the Grand Prix. Fat lot of good that is, though, coming into it. But joining me in the commentary box in a few seconds' time is Adam, who is standing by and ready to go. Has been for the past 15 or so minutes while I've just been prepping things as well. So, Adam, I want to say thank you very much for standing by. I'm just getting on with our screens by pressing the 1, and there you are. On Instagram and on YouTube. Adam, it's been a horrible day and a horrible day yesterday. Let's have some fun. Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you, Josh? Hello, everybody. I can't believe F1 testing is here in the 2024 F1 season. Is here. It's nice to hear the cars on track have Bahrain and and I think we all can say Max Verstappen is still Max Verstappen.
Absolutely. It's a 1:31.662 he's done in the time that I've been out of the commentary box on the C3 tyre as well. I've been keeping across of it, but basically what I've been doing is counter notifications galore I've done 2 of them now, one for FOM and one for Dorna. But here's the Dorna one, that's easy. That should be fine. Well, that will be sorted quite quickly because it was an accident. The FOM one, though, that's the one I'm annoyed about because we had a little look. 5 different channels are doing exactly what I'm doing right now in one sweep, and they're fine. But no, you get me, don't you? It's just it's targeted at this point after yesterday. There's Jonathan Wheatley, sporting director at Red Bull, on the pit wall. What have you been making of the first test, Anna? Because I know it's early morning for you over there in America. What have you been making of all the action we've been seeing?
Oh, like I said, Max Verstappen is still Max Verstappen. I will say I like the new Ferrari livery with the it is nice. It is nice after what we saw in the preseason launches, and Lando Norris is up there. You see the Ferraris are 3rd and 4th, and I'm just enjoying it. It's nice to hear the cars back on. After all the preseason, after all the launches that we've seen, it's nice to see the cars back on track.
I wish it'd be so simple as to have a normal start to 2024, but it's been block, 24/7. Those of you watching on JP Motorsports, you've had a normal day. Those of you watching JP Motorsports 2, it's been chaotic. Those of you watching on Instagram, something new, but you've been fine. So that's the only place we'll be live tomorrow is Instagram, which I find is hilarious, considering that it's literally something we just tested. Again, Pierre Gasly off the track at turn 12, just trying to get past Carlos Sainz at the top of the hill, running a little bit wide. Ferrari taking in some new aero updates on their new rear wing cover. Sam Collins explaining more back from F1 TV as well about that. But let's have a quick word with them, actually. Let's throw it back over.
And that's something Ferrari have been doing quite a lot in this part of the car. Check out the aero rakes they were running this morning. Sculpted around the bodywork, that's there for a reason, because they've got some really interesting new bodywork on the edge of the halo. You can just see it sticking out here on the side of the rear part of the halo. But if I clear that off and we roll this footage forwards ever so slightly, you'll get a clearer look at what I'm talking about, because this is a really interesting area of development for all teams and something nobody's done before. You can see this little section just at the back of the halo that comes down here, little kink at the bottom, and just down back and blends into the rest of the bodywork. Really nice piece of design. Definitely for aerodynamic rather than structural purposes, because the halo itself is a pretty solid piece of titanium. But you come forward again and you can start to see the detail that has created in its wake, and that's what it's all about. And just keep an eye on, I'll just pause it again actually, because if you look at the Ferrari when it comes back on track, and now it's out on track here, you'll notice this little cooling louver, this little outlet on the bodywork. Well, for this afternoon, even though the temperatures have dropped off a little bit, Ferrari have actually installed a second one, and you can see that on the car now that just sits like this. And these are interchangeable panels you see on all cars at the moment. But actually, if you look at the Ferrari, they've got a huge panel that they have to change on the bodywork. All of this has to be changed out just to change that cooling layout, which is quite surprising. Most teams just have a little panel. That's not going to help in terms of the cost cap, certainly in terms of those parts. You can see it wobbling away. And just as we roll through towards the end of this clip that I want to show you, you can just see that little bridge section coming off the halo that I wanted to show you all the way along. And you can just see how it links into the rest of the bodywork. And also you can see this neat little cooling outlet that just kicks out a little bit of the hot air from underneath the bodywork. Well, they had that on last year's car. They've carried that over. But a really nice little piece of design from Ferrari. And one to watch how it develops. But back to you all in the commentary box at the circuit. Let's have a look at how things go as the lights go down in Sakir.
Yep, and the racing very much underway now, because we'll start to get a few party lap times coming in as Zhou Guanyu comes across the line. 8th fastest on the C3 tyres at the moment. Alex Jakes has taken over in the commentary box for F1 TV as well. What do you think of the new Sauber for 2024 then, Adam, as well? It looks quite a sharp car. Yes, it's got the stake and the liveries everywhere, but Sauber actually look like they've done something a bit different compared to the last couple of years with Alfa Romeo. The car actually looks a bit more similar to what Ferrari ran in 22 and then what Mercedes ran at the end of last year. There's sort of a hybrid been put together.
Yeah, and it's nice to see it's nice to see Sauber back. In F1. I remember when they came into F1 led by Peter Sauber, and just hearing just hearing that name brings back a lot of memories for me. And we were talking about Minardi. And I remember that name in F1 too. And man, I can say seeing the livery on track, I kind of like it. It's, because you don't see a lot of green
Oh,
race
off!
cars.
That is the number 2, Logan Sargent, has gone for a spin and has stopped on the track. It's gone into false neutral, and that is down at turn 10 and 11, so that's in the tricky braking zone. Should be able to keep that down, and right behind is Julian Palmer, where that's happened.
He's going again, is Logan Sargent, and he's just going to try and recover. I thought he was going to go to the support pits for a moment, but there he goes. I tell you what, they carry a lot of speed into this corner, down at turn 10. And Logan, I thought he was pretty committed when he came through on the last lap. Obviously building up, having had a bit of a late start in the Williams, and hurtling through. We've got turn 9 on my left-hand side here. You really fell through as we see George Russell come past as
he
well.
lost the rear and
You've
spun
got to
it.
slow it down, 100 miles per hour through these couple of corners as George exits in the Mercedes. It's a really tricky couple of corners, this one. I think it's the most technical corners on the circuit, and Logan on that lap really caught me by surprise. There was suddenly a screech of tyres and he lost the rear end. I think there was a bump that he maybe went over as he was trying to apply the brakes coming through turn 9. The rear end went, and thankfully there's plenty of runoff area. You can see the tyre marks that he's left as the sideways Williams went right the way up towards that gravel towards the wall. But crucially for Logan, he didn't hit it. That's the last thing that he really needed on his first day in the car, first half a day in the car, having not driven this morning. But thankfully, he manages to get the car out of the barriers, and I assume he's come back to the pits. But it's a really nice place to watch. Max Verstappen coming through, Pierre Gasly coming through as well. This corner is where you have normally quite a lock-up frenzy, and we were hearing from Ant earlier on. The wind at turn 1, well, that's just over my right-hand shoulder there, and it's still gusting us in towards turn 9 and 10 here as well. So through 9, hit the brakes, you've got a little bit of headwind to help the driver slow down, which means, apart from Sargent going completely sideways, spinning off, I've only seen one lock-up in my time down here for a few minutes, and that was Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, interestingly. So he's really pushing on. That was right at the end of braking when you got the unloaded front left that is not really doing a lot of work. It just locked up, but Max still finding his apex, and everyone generally, apart from Sargent, looking pretty smooth down here. I have to say, the development that we've seen from the years, last year to this year, everyone much cleaner. George Russell there getting a nice smooth exit and firing himself down to turn 11. But yeah, guys, pretty happy days for 9 of the teams down here.
I've never seen this platform you found yourself at turn 9 and 10. Is this this a Palmer special?
This is a Palmer special. So I've actually taken a long time finding this spot. I was down there right towards where Sargent was about to bury his Williams, and then saw this lovely viewing platform. We've got the sun going down over there. It's golden hour. The cars are starting to find a bit of pace, and I found a beautiful viewing platform to find all the angles of the cars coming through here. 180 degrees, braking, turning, accelerating in a straight line. What a time to be alive, guys.
Very much out of sight of it, isn't he, at the moment? But yeah, thank you very much, Jolien, out there. So Sargent back in. Not great for the American driver who scored points on his home soil. First driver in 30 years to do that, of course, at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. And Adam, in a second year, many people saying, could it be his last year in Formula One? I think he's got a couple left. He improved a lot last year, didn't he, Logan Sargent?
Yeah. When you're a rookie in a series like Formula One, it isn't as easy as people think. You're Logan Sargent is driving for the legendary Williams team, and we all know about the drivers that have competed in that. on that team over the years, and it's one of the standout teams in Formula One. So I think, I think Logan Sargent will improve this year. After getting a year in that Williams, I think he will improve. He's going back to tracks he knows quite well. He knows, where not to make mistakes, where to improve. He'll take a lot of notes from preseason testing and use it, for the first Grand Prix of the year. So, yeah, I think Logan Sargent is going to improve in that Williams in 2024.
Absolutely fantastic to see if he can improve. He's 15th at the moment, back in the pit lane. On board with Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. He's running down in 4th position, up in 4th, I should say, on a 1:33.074. His last lap was a 1:33.329, so he's keeping in that delta as much as he possibly can. As he drops down 2 gears, flicks the car into 9 and 10 and down through 11. 12 and 13 jump up on you. Doesn't quite get hit down a little bit, but 1 hour 42 to go. And the first day will be concluded here for testing as the action continues to rise on. But look at the proporting though, down that back straight. It's a bumpy circuit, but Stroll and Gasly now we're looking at having a few issues with it.
Yeah, and I will say, like I mentioned earlier, Josh, you don't see a lot of green F1 cars. It's nice to see a green F1 car, on the grid this year in that Sauber. It stands out. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and it's what needs to happen. I wish it was a bit more green. Not too much there's too much carbon on the field, but you can easily spot the Sauber out there. Similar to the Mercedes, actually, with the silver front, black rear, sort of a hybrid of their 2 liveries. And Russell's at the wheel of that right now. Looking quite good. A few sparks as he goes down to turn 1. Do you think Russell can, do you think Mercedes, Russell and Hamilton, could they snatch a victory any point this season?
I do. Like I've said time and time again, Red Bull has a huge target on their back. Max Verstappen's got a huge target on his back, and I don't think it's going to be easy for Red Bull this year and Max Verstappen. I think Mercedes will win. I don't know where, and I think Lewis Hamilton will win in last year with Mercedes before going to Ferrari in 2025. Lewis Hamilton is due. He's past due, and I think it's just a matter of time.
I 100% agree with you. Russell has only one Grand Prix in his career. That was back, of course, at the Sao Paulo Grand Prix in 2022. Hamilton's last race win was Saudi Arabia 2021. 2 seasons ago now as well, which is unthinkable.
It still amazes me. It's like 2 years that Lewis Hamilton taking the top step of the podium. That, me, Josh, and you probably agree with me.
I do.
That's mind-boggling.
It's something that shouldn't happen either as well. I mean, it's like having Verstappen go a couple of years that win, or Leclerc now going a season and a half without a win. It's not right being out there. As we're on board with Russell heading into turn 1. Norris has left the track, by the way. He's gone back out. He's now at turn 5 and 6. He's second fastest on a 1:32.484. So he'll get a little bit more delta time. He's 0.822 off the pace of Verstappen at the moment. So not too bad, but still a bit off and wide. Danny Ricciardo now making his afternoon run around. He's P6 in the V-Carb. I know they're calling it RB, but that's just Red Bull. I don't know why they're calling it RB, because that's Red Bull. It's not RB. It's weird. It's Visa Cash App RB, so it's the V-Carb if you want to go for it as well, as they come across. Anyway, Ricciardo in the team to be named later heads down towards turn 1, and this car now very similar to the 2022 Red Bull, in terms of pull rod front suspension and rear, aero intake the same. So basically, they've just got last year's hand-me-downs. So this should put Ricciardo and Tsunoda right up there and make Ricciardo very, very happy.
Yeah. And I will say that, it's not see Danny Rick back on the F1 grid for a full year.
Yeah.
He, Josh, he's one of the most popular drivers on the grid. And I think he'll do good. I think I'm just gonna say the V-Carb Racing Team.
V-Carb has to be. You can't. It's too confusing. I said VRB, Visa Red Bull, but it's because the Cash App bit is a bit on the nose. They've got Hugo as well as another joint sponsor. A lot of around the, not Hugo Boss, even just Hugo. It's all on the legs and everything. No more AlphaTauri, but AlphaTauri now the sponsorship of FIA clothes, which is bizarre. They've decided not to stay in Formula One. And before anybody goes, oh, that means Red Bull can control the FIA, they provide their clothes. Yeah, Mercedes provide the safety car as well as Aston Martin. McLaren make the ECUs for the entire grid. It's nothing. It's just interwoven in Formula One that all the businesses sort of just share everything out. Doesn't mean anything. In that case, I can say that Aston Martin interrupted the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix because it was an Aston Martin safety car. Or Mercedes is with races because half the time it's a Mercedes. Doesn't mean a thing. So anybody knows, oh, well, AlphaTauri, Red Bull now controlling the FIA, it's rubbish. And it's just comical. I think the off-season's been the busiest ever, and it's been the busiest start with everything going wrong, but it has been just chaotic, hasn't it? The off-season's been insane, the amount of news we've had. And we've discussed it a lot, haven't we? We still haven't done it all, because there's more nuggets of information being found out.
It still amazes me. It's like, we don't know, I still can't believe we saw Christian Horner at the, at the launch. I was like, okay.
Yeah, they showed him, and he's not here. I haven't seen him all day. He's here, but I haven't seen him, which is interesting. Apparently he's walking around in civilian clothes.
It's like, I don't know, it's quite, and he really hasn't spoken, as far as I know, about what took place, and it's like, I thought he would have said something about it. Now, I mean, the longer you wait, I don't know, a lot of people want to know what happened, and the longer you wait, a lot of people could get really mad.
I hope Formula One put a statement out saying that they want to have it resolved as quickly as possible, and they hope it's quick from Red Bull. The FIA said the same thing. Ford are apparently holding their entry into F1 for 2026 over the investigation. So there's a lot of negativity around Red Bull at the moment as well, and whether or not what happens as a result of this investigation, we don't know the entire facts. We can't say the entire facts. But something is brewing at Red Bull that could be a significant change in the regulations as well at that team in terms of the hierarchy. Interesting to note, Christian Horner isn't wearing a Red Bull uniform, but Adrian Newey isn't either. And Adrian Newey usually at tests doesn't wear uniforms. But I just found it interesting that they've the only two members of Red Bull who aren't in a Red Bull shirt this afternoon. As the night begins to creep in here.
I will say, Josh, I will say, it's starting to look like a beautiful sunset out there in Bahrain. Don't you think so?
It really is. I'm loving it. Track temperature's at 33.7, air temperature 23.5. But it is beautiful. The track lights start to take over the natural view.
kind of like reminds me of what we saw when we at Daytona.
Yes, very similar to the Daytona Sunset as well, in both the 24-hour and the 500.
Yeah.
So,
And it's,
sorry,
and
go on.
it's like it's still. I will say, it still amazes me. Amount of action we saw in the Daytona 500. It's like there were wrecks that didn't happen, that should have happened, and then we had the big one, and then
The ending was insane.
Yeah.
I saw controversy saying that Alex Byron should have won it. Alex Bowman, but it was Will Byron who got it at the line.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw that too. And it's like, now William Byron is doing the whole 80 rounds in New York City, so.
Yes.
Well, I guess that's one advantage you get to go on all these shows that were, all these talk shows and whatnot, and talk about your win. It is what it is.
Sargent's coming into the last corner. He switched to the C3 tyre compounds after his spin a few laps ago. 15th fastest at the moment. Where is he going to jump up to across the line? Sargent goes 10th, 133.882 on the board. That puts him about 11 thousandths off the pace of Zhou Guanyu. That's decent, actually. Not bad at all. So it's the interval you're seeing on your screen, the gap between each other. That's interesting. Usually it's the other way around. But yeah, anyway, there's the setting sun.
That's gorgeous. It's called, if you're at the track, you take that picture and you cherish that, as, you get it framed and,
it's mesmerizing.
Just put it in your house and, and it'd be perfect, in any type of house.
That was fantastic. I'd love to have the sun and the moon shots from Bahrain as well. It's so big where it is in the world as well. It's insane how clearly it can be seen from one part of the world compared to the other. It's just mind-boggling. But
yeah,
Russell on 11th fastest at the moment. He stayed in this Mercedes all day. He hasn't come out. Hamilton will be in tomorrow afternoon. I think Russell will have the morning as well, and then Hamilton will take it through day 2 afternoon and day 3 morning and afternoon as well. As Russell flies the car through 5th, 6th. You get to 7th gear before slamming on the brakes, trail braking into turn number 10. Downhill segment tightens up. It's like a V. The corner as well. If I put my hand up and you can see on the screen, it's like turning into the V. If you put your 2 index fingers together, inside that it's quite difficult to get the entry line correct, and then you sort of drifting out. This is the worst part of the track for me. It's the best and the worst, because turn 12, you touch that inside curve, the rear just steps out on you immediately. So you sort of want to hit it, but avoid it like the plague. It's confusing, but I think he's on a long run by the time he's gone slow, Adam, so he's going a bit slow. But good on George to get a full mileage into that belt.
Yeah. And next year when Lewis Hamilton leaves Mercedes and goes to Ferrari, George Russell is going to be, right now he would be the face of the team, because we don't know who his teammates is going to be. We all thought this year's off season is crazy. Gosh.
Yeah.
Next year's off season is going to be just as crazy, since
hopefully
drivers will be with new teams, and we don't know, we don't know much right now, except Lewis Hamilton's going to Ferrari, and two of the biggest teams in the sport are finally connecting.
Hopefully next season it gets decided pretty quickly, and we get to have a full season of the speculation, the news, and all the highlights that we get to expect. Hamilton first time in Maranello and all that lot. It's going to be fantastic to see. And so just an update on day 2's TV schedules. This is what I've been told in my ear from one of the BTS people, behind the scenes people that have come in over the separate channel that we have and have told me what can be done. We will be live all day on day 2 on JB Motorsports' Instagram account. So that's at JB Motorsports IG. We are going to be live on the JB Motorsports Facebook page as well, which we haven't used in a couple of years. So that's going to be used as well, apparently. So we're live there as well. And all the coverage is going to get recorded and uploaded and premiered on JB Motorsports on the main channel. So that is the plan. And then as soon, I'm literally being told, the second we have Twitch back, we will be live on Twitch as well. So a full roster of programming for you tomorrow, and we'll get all the socials out. At JB Motorsports X on X, which is Twitter. Get on there, and that will tell you where we'll be broadcasting tomorrow live. And I suppose it's kind of like, for me tomorrow, it's kind of like Ben Edwards, when he used to do the BBC F1 commentary. It wasn't live on the main show, but he was live somewhere, and that was enough for him. So that'll be enough for me, and even if it wasn't live, I'll still be in the commentary box as well, talking and uploading it, because we've done that several times before anyway. So just hope you'll bear with us because of the unfair block from Dorna, and then today's block from Fom from the first test. So confusing.
Yeah, I was like, I still can't believe it. You know, I was watching, and all of a sudden, I was like, okay, where'd it go?
Happened again. But the thing is, though, yesterday's with Dorna, that was a complete accident. And they've actually apologised to me, so that's nice. So that'll get solved quite quickly, hopefully. But in terms of we'll still lose unless they find it quickly and remove it. We'll still won't have live access on the main channel for 7 days. So, and just quickly, I've also been told about NASCAR. That'll be on US Orange YouTube channel, and it will be on JB Motorsports' Twitch channel, and then uploaded to the JB Motorsports YouTube channel after as a premiere. So we'll be live on the US Orange YouTube channel for that. That's what I'm being told.
Cool.
So that's our scheduling.
Yeah, it's called. Well, yeah, I can say this to you, Josh. There is no rain in sight for Sunday in Atlanta, Georgia. So
yes,
we don't have to do any rain. Thank goodness. This Mother Nature is being nice to us.
I can't talk to the person behind the scenes because we haven't got a separate mic channel. So I'm going to ask, can we ask Matthew if we can do F1 testing on USON as well? If we upload today's coverage on there and then do the next 2 days on the YouTube channel, just so that we're live somewhere. I'm gonna give him a bell about that one. Change the name around, because then we're still live and we can easily redirect you to where we need to be on YouTube. Yeah. I feel like that's a bit more happier, because then it's not losing the YouTube fan base. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah, and I will. Yeah. Oh yeah, Josh. I can say over here in the United States, ESPN Plus, which is in
Sorry, go on, Adam.
is a subscription-based service. They're actually airing. It's the only place in the United States where they're airing all of F1 testing, and I had no idea until last night. I was like, really? I was like, okay. So I can say
that's good.
ESPN is doing F1 testing. I was like, well, it's nice that ESPN is doing it, but if I want testing coverage, I'll hang with Josh.
Yeah, stay here. All fun. Oh, Sargent has had a problem. And after that spin, something's broken on the Williams. So a little error there for Logan Sargent. And he's back in the pit lane. Rear suspension sounded like it just gave way, and he had a little bit of a slide, but could be clutch on the side. We'll get an update. Ed Hunter's just joined the box, so 2 become 3 in a few moments' time. We'll let him charge up and get ready. In the meantime, we'll hand over to the world feed so we can get everything ready.
He backed out of it. He's staring in the mirror there. You can see he's checking out what's going on in the back of the car. And I think he's had a Mercedes engine engineer as well that's looking, a couple of...
Yeah, the back of the car.
There's a couple of Mercedes engineers as well.
He immediately changed something on the steering wheel.
Let's
go through it again.
To that. So he comes out of turn turn 8. Oh, he makes a torque change into 8. Oh, yeah, he had a box full of neutrals momentarily, didn't he, from 3rd to 4th. And does the right thing, keeps it in 4th gear after that. Oh no, down back into 3rd. So he goes down into 3rd, okay, and to 2nd, but that was definitely unhappy as he went from 3rd to 4th, flat out. Yeah, big. Yeah, there's a lot of concern at the rear of the car. Is it a drive shaft, maybe?
If you weren't with us earlier on, Williams had a fuel pump issue, which took Alex Albon out of the first session of the day. It then curtailed the running for Logan Sargent. And a second problem to add to the last car that we saw doing a filming day and in actual real 2024 specification.
Williams were actually one of the teams who pushed design and production to the absolute limit. You just mentioned the fact that they shook the car down for the first time yesterday. When I was talking to Pat Fry, he said, you know, that all went smoothly. But I think there is potential, a small feel inside the team that maybe they pushed it a little bit too hard. Maybe they took a few more risks in that, because obviously what we're seeing now is those niggles. And I know that's what testing is for, it's to clear out all those niggles. But in an ideal world, you want to clear those out in the shakedown so that you can have the clear running. And I think sometimes when you maybe push the envelope too far, and you maybe take a few more risks, and we've heard Alex Albon talk about how this car's more an all-rounder rather than the straight line beast that it was last year, and they've kind of changed the way they go about designing a car. Sometimes we're seeing right in front of us what can happen if you just push it a little bit too far.
Yeah, I mean, you have smaller issues that aren't necessarily a car stopper, and then you've got issues like potential gearbox or drivetrain issues that will stop the car, or fuel pump pickup problem that, again, we saw in the previous session, will stop the car for a lengthy period of time. It's just a small look up there for Daniel Ricciardo into turn 8. Still a tricky corner despite the conditions coming to the drivers and teams now. Drivers keep exploring the limits, of course, and on older tyres, this track, no matter which kind of condition or scenario you're in, it's always a bit of a tyre killer. So you've got to protect them for all they're worth. But yeah, going back to the Williams, you've potentially seen in the course of a couple of hours now, 2 problems that have stopped the car properly from running.
Yeah, and Pat Fry was saying earlier today that, you know, you have to adjust your program completely. They're not going to get through everything that they wanted to do. That's going to put them into the back foot tomorrow, and then you can never really catch that back up. And when you've only obviously got 3 days of testing, I know it's the same for everyone. When you're a team like Williams, where you're fighting in a very compact midfield, that could really hurt them early on when they're looking for, you know, those kind of low-hanging fruit.
Well, these are the sacrifices the team has to make in this day and age of Formula One, and the cost caps and the lack of wind tunnel time and that lack of the infrastructure that a team like Williams has compared to the bigger teams out there, the Ferraris, the Red Bulls and the Mercedes of this world, to name but a few. It's, you know, you are playing catch up, and at some point, if you want to catch them up, you're going to have to take potentially bigger risks, I guess, than they're taking in the off season. You've got more to gain, but you're going to have to take some bigger risks to get there. So I think it is a necessary risk at this stage to have to go through. If, like I always said, I would prefer an unreliable fast car than a really slow, reliable one.
I think that's how everybody would like as well. Ed Hunter has joined us now up here in the commentary box, and as I say, to become 3 for the first time here on the Instagram JB Motorsports channel and on JB Motorsports 2 today. I'm losing track. Hi Ed, welcome to the worst week of my life, February edition. How are you?
Good, thanks. Yeah, I think it's just the usual copyright thing, isn't it? Maybe they just don't like you using a broadcast audio whenever you're not commentating, I guess.
They hate me. Yeah, they really hate me.
Yeah, it is a bit. It's a bit odd for them to single you out when you're definitely not the only one who does these sorts of streams, although you're definitely one of the best, I should add.
Thank you, Ed. I counted 5. I counted 5 different people on one tab of my Amazon Fire Stick earlier. But thank you. Anyway, here's Russell. Proporting like crazy again. That's going to be a worry. So, Ed, what have you made of testing so far? How much have you been able to see? And all the F1 pre-season launch as well?
I saw a timing screen very briefly in the morning, otherwise, and I saw a clip from the morning, I think the Formula One was hyping up of, the first overtake of the season, when it was literally just Verstappen on clearly a different lower fuel and a different run plan, breezing past Charles Leclerc, which I don't think really is going to tell us much of anything, although admittedly Verstappen doing 109 laps on the C3 tyre and being fastest is probably a more ominous sign than anything else that's happened today.
I mean, if there was ever a time to get a strike, it's when testing's happening and nothing is really revolutionary. I mean, it's 8/10 at the moment, so...
Yeah, and no driver lineup changes, of course, from last year as well. It's sort of stagnated in that point, because I think usually we only get one or two these days, don't we? If, like, say, someone like Sargent or... I know there was all the muttering about Perez as well, but to be honest, it's just not a convenient... It's not really a convenient option to slot in just yet, that they sort of want to... given that they've got the fastest car, there's no real pressure to change and put a more competent second driver in. Not that Perez is incompetent, but just that there might potentially be better options out there, potentially in this field as well already. But yeah, and as for the likes of, like, I don't know, Dragovic or Mick Schumacher, there was just given that the regulations are so stable as well, going in from 23 into 24, there's no real... If you put someone else in, you're going to have to adjust to that car, and potentially they might not get to grips with things until mid-season. We remember how much Nick de Vries struggled as well. He's a very, very competent and solid driver, Formula E champion, Formula 2 champion, of course, as well. So if he's struggling, then any new driver or driver just changing teams is going to take a while, unless they're, say, an Alonso or a Verstappen or a Hamilton or someone of that caliber.
And I think as well with Perez, as well being locked in at Red Bull for only half a season, that's going to be playing on his mind as well, because there is the stronger rumour that Danny Ricciardo is going to take him over. So ask you both this, starting with you, Adam. If it's not Danny Ricciardo, who would you get to replace Sergio Perez if that mid-season swap is going to happen?
That's a $32,000 question. I don't, Josh. Oh no. I mean, oh.
It's day one. I thought I'd throw it in.
Yeah. I think I'll have to say that. Yeah.
Adam, did you say that's the third $2,000 question or the $30,000 question? Because I feel like you're making a lot more money out of these questions and answers than I am. In the exchange, Josh.
Well, it was the $32,000 question, and then it's the $64,000 question, and then it's a $128,000 question. So
it's gaining exponentially. It's like proving your own money, Adam.
I will say it's nice to be back with you, Ed. And I enjoyed being on Formula E Zone with Jack and Jack about talking about Nick Cassidy after Daria. So looking forward to hopping on there. Throughout the year, especially after Port.
Yeah, I have to apologise, Adam, because I know we wanted to get Mark Preston on for this week, and unfortunately Mark cancelled on us because of a late trip. And also, I may have slightly annoyed some of the PR people at Lola by not adding them to the email chain. Like Keith Smat in particular, I think was a bit annoyed that Mark sort of went over his head. You're going on Formula E Zone, you're going to tell them all our secrets. I don't know what secrets Lola might have that they don't want us particularly, or just the public at large, to know. But
it's me. It's my fault. It might be my fault, honestly, because of my masterful dislike of when they attempted to join F1. But that's not against Lola. I was very clear in the launch when we had Visa Cash App RB, whatever it was. I said it was MasterCard themselves that caused the issues at Lola, not Lola themselves. So,
and it was Eric Broadley that was leading that project, and he's no longer with us, sadly. Yes. So hasn't been for some time. So it is a deal. Till I forget what Till's last name is, but everyone just that might be his first name, but Mark Preston just calls him Till.
Yeah.
And he's the boss at Lola now, and they've been looking at motorsport for a couple of years, and Mark obviously into all those sorts of clean energy and stuff. There are lots of really interesting questions that I know Mark is very excited to announce as we look at the back of the stake F1 team, the Sauber essentially, with its
It's just Sauber.
Unleashed, I think it says on the back.
It's
Yeah,
Sauber.
I don't know what's being unleashed here, but I guess Joe in the top 9, so on the C3 tyres, so it can't be going that badly. But I'd be very surprised if Sauber have made a big leap up the order this year.
I find it quite ironic that Zhou Guanyu, who is a really good chef, by the way, really good chef, outside of Formula One, is driving a car called Steak. It just made me giggle when we found that out. I was like, okay. It's the same how with Yuki Tsunoda, with the Visa Cash App RB team as well. If that got rebranded to something else, food related, I'd be giggling because Yuki eats so much food. It is unbelievable how much he actually eats. You could see it beforehand. He was going between motorhomes as well, having lunches with loads of different people. It's insane, but Yuki's a fantastic driver, and so is Zhou Guanyu.
I will say this. I will say this. Asian cooking is quite popular. I've got so I wonder what Zhou Guanyu's favorite thing to cook is, and I'd like to whatever it is. I'd like to try it to see how I'd like it.
Now, the thing is, over the past month or so, well, not really a month, I've always been a fan of cooking. I always like cooking. I'm a very good cook. But over the past month, I've been cooking a couple of different things. I find cooking helps my mental health a lot because I'm focusing on doing something, and I'm very much enjoying it. Because F1 isn't a passion anymore, it's now my job. I have another hobby in terms of cooking. So I've been cooking loads of stuff. Hamburger soup, which is very nice. I don't know if you've ever had it. Very, very nice. Chicken curries, shepherd's pies, and all that lot. Really wonderful pasta dishes as well and everything. It's been real fun. And I've often thought about, I'd love to sit down. It's funny you actually said that. I'd love to sit down and actually have an interview with Zhou Guanyu whilst cooking. I think that'd be fantastic. I'd love that because I've seen it happen before on a YouTube channel. Any Formula E drivers cook, Ed?
I think 1 or 2 do, but I couldn't remember which one. I'm completely distracted looking at the Red Bull of Verstappen, and it's almost like because they've got the airbox that's got these little nubs at the side, so that to channel air out the back, but it almost looks like the halo is like really, really long.
Yeah, I thought that when I first saw it. It does look quite fat, doesn't it? It's the same as what Mercedes had at the start of last year, isn't it? That sort of long halo effect, but it does come off it.
Yeah, if you look just sort of in between the halo and the driver, there's almost like these little holes in the middle to sort of channel air through that part of the airbox. I think you can just about make them that way. It looks like there's something going on there, so that's very. It strikes me as very Adrian Newey sort of design philosophy that team has. Obviously, there are other people. Newey is more of a consultant these days, given that he's got all these other interests, and it's passed on that kind of experience to his team of people. I forget who's the technical director at Red Bull technically, but it's someone who's been under Adrian Newey for years.
I forget too. I'll do a quick Google while we throw it down to Will.
Garage, and the looks on the faces of everyone there, the demeanour of Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris in what was a disastrous 3 days of pre-season testing, and look at the change here right now. It is calm, it is measured, there's
Ben
a
Hodgkinson.
confidence, there's an assuredness. It couldn't be more different to 12 months ago down here at McLaren. The rate, I should say, of development that they went on through last year, getting past that disappointing pre-season testing, developing that car in season, taking themselves from the back of the field to the front, the second fastest
doing his
team,
warm-ups for Drive to Survive.
undoubtedly, by the end of the year, and hoping to make great strides into this year. There is just a calm assuredness, quiet confidence down here at McLaren, which is so marked in terms of where they were at just 12 months ago. A very different feel to this team, a very different garage, a very different vibe down here at McLaren 12 months on from testing last year.
Well, last year we were writing them off, and even in the first race they were having just absolute horrendous look. Lando had to come into the pit lane every 5 laps to get water put into the car. Oscar retiring, Max having a bit of a snap coming through turn 13 as well. Fastest middle sector of anybody. So this, despite it being a low sector 1, fastest small sector 2, is Max Verstappen about to blow the competition away with a brand new fastest lap here. at the...
You go off track at turn
Yeah.
4 though on this lap, Josh.
Oh, right, okay, so this might not be it then. Oh, he's 2 tenths down, yeah. So it was sector 2 that got him, and he's back to sector 2. Even though that second sector, which is just after turn 4, down the hill, isn't it, through 5, 6, 7, 8, he's still gone off there. So Verstappen still on a 1:31.662. It's Pierre Wache as well, who is the technical director at Red Bull. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. It's French. I've tried to put... It's got an apostrophe E at the end, so I've tried to put my best French on it.
But that's good in a way to have someone like Adrian Newey, who is sort of the bigger name, but he's sort of a huge stint in F1 and has gradually built up a team of people that share his philosophy, that sort of have benefited from his way of doing things. And the spotlight's not really on them, but they still get all the benefit of having that association with Newey. So even though it may be Adrian getting the credit, they can sort of take a lot of pleasure from being part of that design team, of getting to see those drawings, getting that influence in there, even though they may be actually the ones doing more of the work than Adrian is these days.
I've just been told in my ear as well that if you are watching on... oh! Well, 3 become 4. I didn't expect this.
Oh, should I leave? Is it time to go?
No, it's fine. It's actually somebody in this very box who's...
Or is it
dear.
Megan?
It's Megan. She's turned up, but her headset's very much convoluted under this desk. Hang on a minute. Don't want it burning like it did in the end of Abu Dhabi, where you left the commentary box and your headset ended up nearly being burned. So let's move that out of the way. Put that on there. Move this out of the way. Get that out of the way. Turn you up on earphones. Tell me when. Is that enough? Is that okay? I'll put you on mic. Hello, Megan.
Hello.
Hello. Say hello to JB Motorsports 2 and Instagram.
Hi.
And hello to Adam and Ed.
Hi.
Hi.
Well,
Hi, Megan.
You've rushed. Last time
Not really.
Well, last time I saw you, you were... Well, that was 2 hours ago, actually. Thinking
Never changed, Megan. Never.
Don't touch the desk. We're having a problem with that laptop. Literally, stay away from the desk. See this line on the floor here? That's the green screen line.
Stay behind it.
Stay behind that line on the green screen line, yeah. Because otherwise it's all going to go wrong. What do you think of the new timings?
Very nice.
Yeah, that's blown. That's blown. No YouTube.
Typical. My one blows.
Yeah. That's gone. We're on Instagram. The YouTuber's got a block. That never worked this morning. And that duck deserved to die.
What?
There's a ceramic duck at the side of the box. So I took the opportunity to use a line from Fuller House. But yeah.
Wow. No, Josh. Okay, Josh. Yeah, speaking of Fuller House, have you and Megan ever watched the original?
Yes.
Full House.
Yeah.
We love Full House.
Thank you.
We just can't find
Okay,
it
so-
anywhere in England.
Yeah, it's not available here in anymore, so we can't watch it.
It's annoying.
Okay. I'll ask you to this. Who was your favorite character on Full House?
Michelle.
Oh, you're so predictable.
Oh, okay. Josh, who was your favorite character?
Jesse.
Huh?
I'm sorry, I don't know why. It just is. Ever since
You've become Jesse.
Ever since I haven't got the long hair. Ever since Zara was born, and ever since Kellyanne was pregnant with Zara, I've thought Jesse is the cool uncle.
Do you want to borrow my guitar?
Well, if every word I said. No, but seriously, in that case, it was either that or that, but it had to be Jesse. It's always been Jesse. Michelle's funny.
I actually, yeah. I remember, I know the intro. I remember all the episodes. I'm an 80s/90s kid since that was my generation. So I grew up every Friday night. I watched Full House. I watched Family Matters. I watched Perfect Strangers. That was my Friday night as a 8-year-old, 9-year-old, and I absolutely loved it. And
I agree.
I didn't really care for Fuller House. I'll stick with the original Full House. Thank you very much.
I wish it'd be on Netflix again. We need to
Yeah.
find the box set with a region player.
We do.
I mean, the PlayStations are. Oh, cheers. Oh. You never know when that's going to appear. do you?
Cheers. Oh, I know that show too.
It's just behind us in the commentary box. I moved to look at the PlayStation 4 and there's Cheers.
I'm literally rewatching Cheers right now on Paramount.
Oh, this is Carlos Sainz this morning off the jacket turn 10. Ed, I don't suppose, have you ever seen it? Full House? Full House? No?
Nope.
No?
Ed, you're
I'm
missing
kinda
out.
lost. But I know it's an
missing out.
American
And-
sitcom.
wait a
So
minute.
let's look at Logan Sargent losing it again from earlier.
Wait a minute.
Sergeant having that massive slide. Do watch it if you can, it's
Okay.
great. Go on, Adam.
Yeah. Okay, Megan. You said you're watching Cheers. I will say this to you guys. You know, there's actually at one time there was a real Cheers bar in Boston, Massachusetts,
Was that?
and they
I
filmed
was
the
in
last
Boston.
episode
I wish.
in that Cheers bar. I kid you not.
I want that. I want that bar. I want to own that.
You want to
Let's
own
become
Cheers?
Sam Malone.
No. No.
So you know,
Wait
as
till you
someone
get to
who's originally from New England, like me, at one time there really was a real Cheers bar in Boston, Massachusetts.
I didn't know
I
that.
know where it was too. So yeah,
I never knew
I
that.
know the yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
Things you learn. You want to own that bar now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
did.
thought you did. Anyway, Megan, what have you been making of all the testing news over the winter? It's been hell.
Entertaining.
Really? What did you make of Hamilton to Ferrari?
It feels wrong in every sense of a word.
Why?
Because I feel like so many people predicted it jokingly beforehand, because I've seen on like loads of Instagram things just like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if Leclerc and Hamilton joined up one day? I was just like, everyone's just in the comments like, you have no idea how much this aged perfectly.
Scary, isn't it, as well? Oh, 5.
It's too many people now.
Hi, Omi.
Well, I could leave.
You're staying, Megan.
Hi, Omi.
You're not on the camera. I'll just, Omi's going to be probably in the backstage just watching. Although he's got his mic on. Omi, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi, Omi. How are you? We come from having no one for hours. 6 hours, we had nobody. The first and last, bang, everybody. I love that.
Well, for some reason, I get late of the day, so you're always going to get me this late in the day.
What have you made of testing Omi so far?
Interesting. I haven't watched most of it though.
That's all right. Neither have I today. I wish I was lying, but I'm not. I've been doing counter notifications galore as well. But yeah, just to remind you, tomorrow we will be live on JB Motorsports' Facebook page. We'll be live on Instagram. We will be live on USRN's YouTube channel. And then we will also have full delayed coverage on JB Motorsports 1. And then on whenever we get Twitch back, we'll slot in there. Basically, whatever platform we can think of, that's where we're going to be tomorrow to be live.
Yes.
Thanks to all these ridiculous blocks that aren't actually real. Do you know, yesterday's Dorner bot wasn't real because it was said it was German football.
Yeah.
Twice.
That was weird.
It's an errant bot that Dorner apologised to me for. So that's fine. I can take that. Today's, though, I can't because we found out what it was for. Do you know what? It is Farmer have claimed it, but do you know what they've claimed?
What?
The Qatar Grand Prix.
I'm sorry, where is that? Anywhere.
We're in Bahrain. I do not have a Scooby-Doo.
Woo.
Yeah, I know. Errant bots.
It doesn't matter anyway, because even if it was the right footage that they claimed for the right Grand Prix or whatever, or for pre-season testing,
it's still wrong.
They didn't use any footage.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe some audio at most, and even then, that's a bit shaky because it's sort of fed through a speaker essentially.
Yeah, you can't tell where it is. It's not a direct link.
This is what happens when people don't actually check things themselves.
Yeah, AI bots.
Yeah, it's what happens when big corporations hire just robots and sort of third-party software to automatically detect footage.
Yeah.
And it will just sort of find something that seems somewhat similar in an algorithm or whatever, and sort of say, right, that's probably ours, then claim it. And then it sort of auto-claims, and then the idea is, claim first and then repent later.
Yeah.
I guess.
Guilty until proven innocent, which is not how it's supposed to be.
The YouTube system as well.
Yes.
Which is very flawed and basically puts all the power in the hands of the copyright holder, sorry.
And YouTube, when they said we don't get involved in copyright disputes. They won't. They
You
won't
really
vouch.
should, since it's your own company
Yeah, I
saying these things. But
Yes.
do you know what I find frustrating?
Go on.
How much people rely on AI nowadays. Like, I thought, okay, I've just written this little piece in my work because obviously I've been busy doing my assessments. I thought, I'll just see, do I write like a robot? Came back 90% AI made. Just like, no, I just speak like that.
You speak like a robot.
Yeah, apparently.
Also, they teach you to write like this in schools, don't they?
They
so
do,
They can't
exactly.
turn around and say, "Oh, you write like a robot," but you told me to read all these books, and this is how the information was presented to me, and I've tried to replicate that style for this essay.
It's so
Now
bizarre.
you're saying, "Oh, that's too much like an AI." So.
And
of course, you do get people who do plagiarize, and that is a big issue where they play.
Yeah.
There's a great video by a guy called H Bomber Guy on YouTube where he talks about video essays on YouTube that basically take articles of work by other creators and then just reword bits here and there with a couple of synonyms in a dictionary or something to make it seem like they haven't copied when they have just wholesale ripped off bits.
Yeah.
And you can tell when these creators are doing their own bits, like I forget who it is. I think it might have been
Black Flag
James Summit.
Matters. Oh, he's one on NASCAR.
James Summit who would do these essays about like LGBT and queer coding and sort of films
Yeah.
and media, and then be these bits he's written himself that are weirdly dismissive of like women and stuff like that come across as kind of sexist, and it's like, yeah, well, the reason this bit sticks out is because he wrote it himself, and it's awful. so yeah,
It's so stupid.
I'm summarizing quite a lot there, but it's a if you have like 2 or 3 hours to burn, then that H Bomber Guy video is quite entertaining watch, and sort of, but it is a serious issue like of plagiarism, and I think AI, as you say, mate, it's sort of the new form of lazy people trying to avoid doing work. In the end, that ends up causing more problems.
It's frustrating, especially since my degree, which I'm doing, is in criminology. So I am constantly having to refer to people's past definitions, using quotes, but also the thing that it tries to get you on and say both it's AI and plagiarised most is when you actually state what act something is.
Yeah.
It's like, if I say an ethics act from like 2010, it'll be like, I'm sorry, you've got to use a different word other than ethics. It's like, that is not the act if I do that.
Doesn't seem to understand what nouns are and that they can't be changed.
See, this is where it comes in handy because Megan's actually studying
Morality
law.
act.
Yeah. Actually, I've just completed my criminal law thing because I've just got 2 essays in on that. And I already do have a A-level in law.
See? This is why Megan's
Hey,
our
let's go,
lawyer.
Megan.
Megan's our lawyer. She's our lawyer.
Hey, Josh, I can say this to you guys. I actually have a cousin who's a lawyer too, so
Adam, give me his
so I'm
number.
in the same boat.
Give me his number. I'm gonna need it.
Sure.
I think we have anyone.
For you, Josh and Megan. Where the Cheers bar is it's on Beacon Street in Boston, Massachusetts, and yes, it is open. It opens at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time
Okay, I need to buy
today.
this
So
bar
it's
one.
like so it's called, if you ever go to Boston,
Okay.
head to Beacon Street and you can go see the Cheers bar.
I am so adding this to my list. Oh my god, do we have one too? But similar, there is something in Skegness called Cheers.
We've been to Skegness several times.
But it's a bit different for still. Look. We have one too.
Oh, yeah, it is Cheers. Okay, all right, well, we're off. Okay, brilliant.
I want to go to the American one.
Omi?
I want to go to Boston.
Sorry, Omi, are you still here? You're in the pit lane area.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
I want your reaction, because we
Hi.
did a podcast on it, but
Yeah.
now we're live, of course. Hamilton to Ferrari. What is your opinion? And they're getting rid of Sainz, of course.
I like it for Hamilton wise. A bit unfortunate for Sainz, but I'm sure he'll be able to find another team. Quite a lot of options for him.
Oh,
but yeah, I'm excited to see for Hamilton as Ricciardo's gone off the road.
exit of turn 14 as well as he gets back on the track. 1.1 seconds down off the pace. Do you reckon Hamilton will be a world champion at Ferrari? We'll start with Omi, then run it round. Then to you, Megs. Go on.
I'm going to say yes.
No.
Oh, interesting. Why?
Has he won the last 2 years?
Bad car.
You can't always blame the car when Russell Zora's in like 5th at least.
Fair dues. Ed, what about you?
No, because it's Ferrari, but I think Lewis will get very, very close.
Oh, okay. Good season then for 25. Adam, what about you?
I think once Lewis Hamilton wins a championship at Ferrari, he retires.
Oh, so
He
8
wants to
championships.
go out, you know. I mean, it's like he wants to go out on top, you know, and so I think he'll win a championship at Ferrari and then hang it up.
Just looking back to Danny Ricciardo, Megs, he got hooked on the curb and just sort of got dragged out. But it happened. Look, just that happened to Aitken. He got spat off in the back, and Perez in testing last year. That's going to be quite a fun one to watch.
That's definitely going to cause some problems.
Yeah. So, that's what I was doing. I was messaging Matthew Owens about the USRN thing because I need to get that in for tomorrow, the login details. I mean, if it could be on USRN, that's great because that's USRN. That's one of our partners. Because I'm not going to risk the Grid Network.
Yes,
Yeah, not going to risk the Grid Network. But USRN don't go live on their YouTube channel that much. So if I can borrow their channel for a bit, that'll be very much appreciated. Because anyway, the Grid's YouTube channel, that's all linked in to Streamlabs, so where it goes everywhere. So that's all linked together. I know Joe would offer it to me in a heartbeat, but I can't do that. I would be if they got a strike, I would be mortified. Whereas with the USRN, they don't go on lives, and we can hide it with the names like we have now, and it's been fine. So there is Haas's 3-person pit board. No good to Steiner, of course, this year as well. He'll be appearing on television, and I have sent an email. Of course I've sent an email. Of course I've sent an email to try and get Gunter Steiner on the either the
You
podcast or
and
live.
everyone and their dog, Josh.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
I've got. I hope I've got a better chance though. I'm ordering his book as well.
Hurt to ask.
There's smoke coming out the back of that Sauber down that back straight. I hope it's just some oil burning.
That
That's
is
going on.
very green.
That is the Stake F1 team Kick Sauber. Now known as Stake, yeah. Known now as Kick Sauber this weekend because of gambling laws, despite the fact they've got stake all over the car.
I know a lot of people that want to do that.
Yes, what, Kick Sauber? Well, many people in the past have wanted to kick Peter Sauber as well, but many have tried.
Questions you can get.
Many have tried. Some have succeeded in many respects. Maybe if you're, especially if you're Michael Schumacher, you succeeded a couple of years ago at a party where I think it was after the championship in 04 or 05, and Michael's wearing a
04. He didn't win in 05. Alonso did.
Alonso did.
But Ralph was at Toyota at the time. So it can't be when he was a world champion then, is it? Because that was 5 and 6 and 7. So it must have been in one of those years. Michael's wearing a...
As he was going to Toyota at the end of 04, but even then he still had the season, I think.
That's it, because there's a picture of Michael wearing a Toyota shirt with Ralph being sickle down his back. That was after something.
What makes sense, it was one of Shimi's rougher seasons and he was trying to wind down from it.
Yeah. Of course, the most famous Michael Schumacher party story is actually the 1997 after party. Now, this was after the crash between him and Jacques Villeneuve. Villeneuve and all his entourage went to the hotel bar and kept it open all night and were having a party. And about 11 o'clock at night, Michael turns up with the Ferrari PR man who's got a camera. Michael goes behind the bar with Jacques. They're all celebrating, happy time and all that lot, and serving drinks to everybody. Michael and Jacques getting along famously. Jacques goes away thinking, do you know, we've had a long season, but I fully respect Michael that at the end of the day, he can come and have a party, and he's a good bloke. Opens the front page the next day, Michael Schumacher celebrates with champion Jacques Villeneuve. It was Michael doing a PR stunt to say, look, it's okay. Even though I crashed into him and I'm under investigation for all this lot, I'm a good guy. It was a PR stunt.
It's a clever PR stunt.
Jacques was very hurt by that, and him and Michael had a very thingy relationship after that.
Not surprised.
I think I heard that on. I don't know if it was on the F1 podcast or not. Can't remember, or I read it somewhere. But that happened. I remember that.
Yeah, and that makes sense because Max Mosley saw right through it and came down very, very hard on Schumi.
Yep.
And disqualified him from the whole championship, which is pretty unprecedented nowadays. You couldn't imagine anyone being disqualified from a championship just for a crash, even in the end of the season. I think it's because because it was widely felt that Schumi had got away with Adelaide '94 crashing into Damon Hill, and so it was sort of a response to that, where they'd been seen as being too lenient, so that they thought if they came down hard on him, it would set an example and stop him from doing. Of course, Schumi later went on to do the incident in Monaco 2006 comes to mind, where he stopped in the middle of the track and pole line to stop Alonso getting on pole, and then ended up being sent to the back of the grid. So Schumi, if there was an opportunity, if he felt really under threat from whoever he's fighting with for the championship, he would just occasionally, the red mist would descend and he would just do whatever it took, because that was the way his mind worked. And he partied hard, he raced hard, and that's the life of a 7-time world champion. I think Lewis may be a different kind of 7-time world champion, though.
He still parties hard, though, doesn't he?
Still going to Ferrari, though, as well, which was
with his dog. Yes.
Mercedes to Ferrari. That was the same route that Schumacher did as well, because he started off as a Mercedes Sauber driver in Group B in the early 90s.
Yeah, it's called. If I remember right, Michael Schumacher started his F1 career at Jordan.
Yeah.
Then went to Benetton. In his first career win in Spa. Then I believe he went to Ferrari and the rest of it. And then we all know what happened next.
Came over 5 championships for Ferrari, 7 in total, and then over to Mercedes. And I think as well.
He retired in between.
Retired in between,
him breaking his leg in MotoGP or whatever it was.
He could have come back in 09 if it wasn't for that motorcycle crash as well.
Given how bad the Ferrari F60 was in 2009, he probably dodged a bit of a bullet there.
100%.
We could be all talking about Michael, the way people talk about Luca Badar.
Poor Luca Badar got the short end of the stick there.
He didn't deserve some of the criticism he got there. As yet, Norris locks up into turn 10.
Hurts a little bit, you know. I think it's that Megan knows
For the
exactly
tyre? Or are we talking about Luca Badar?
Megan knows exactly what I'm on about when I just said that, looking down there at the pictures. And then there's Pierre Gasly, who comes through. Oh, look off the track at turn 4. And catching the curve with some sparks as well. So that's a slight error.
Has there been anything interesting today, like throughout testing?
Albon stopped with a reliability issue at the start of the at the end of the first session. Sargent spun when he took over the car earlier on, and that's about it. Not really had anything today. It's been red flag free in testing.
Lovely. What about commentators? What's been going on with that?
Crofty's not there. He's taken this test off. No Martin Brundle either. No Karun Chandnok. So from the Sky F1 personnel, it's just, and I say just, Rachel Brooks and Anthony Davidson.
Oh, that's not a lot.
Oh, and Ted Kravitz, of course. I forgot about Ted. Ted's there. And then it's all the F1 TV personnel. All of them are there.
Lovely.
Including Jakesy, who's doing it as well. And
Is he doing all of it?
No, he's sharing it with Rachel Brooks and Will Buxton. But he's on now.
Oh, okay.
Although I think Laura's on there too as well, actually. I messaged Laura this morning actually saying, because she put all her F1 prep at the front of, I took a photo, I was like, I feel all too prepared now, are you on the commentary? Don't know if she's replied actually, I haven't seen it, but she's on now, I can hear it in the back of the headset.
Joshua, trust me, you're not underprepared for anything. Especially since I'm the type of person that just walks in.
Yeah, alright, but hang on a minute. Can I just point out that so far today we have had a YouTube strike on the second channel.
Has any of that been your thought, well,
we were
no,
we were
because
37 minutes late on air for the first part of the test because we lost internet, television,
Yeah,
and
you
then we
woke me
lost
up because
timings.
of it.
We lost internet, TV timings, and then last 2 days have been the hardest I think I've ever had in broadcasting life. I really do actually think that's true. We never had this many errors.
I can see that definitely.
Yeah, we never had this many problems in one go before. Which means
Fingers
tomorrow,
crossed.
yeah, tomorrow we are everywhere. Literally, they try and silence us, we'll crop back up everywhere. Every social media platform, Facebook, Instagram. We're back on YouTube, Twitch, YouTube 2. All good. Can't stop us. It's not fair.
It isn't fair.
On board with Carlos Sainz as he comes up towards turn 4. He's moved up to third place, by the way, on a 132.584, with the track temperature coming down as well. This is now going to see some of the faster runs. I'm not expecting them to put on the C4, C5 tyre yet, which is the fastest of the compounds. They'll stay with C3, which is the medium compound in this day. And then maybe on day 3 we'll have a bit more excitement, which hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be live on Twitch for.
We usually do have more excitement on day 3.
Yeah.
Maybe because everyone is a bit tired and they make mistakes. And
Tired, making mistakes, still going to be good. Yeah. Just to remind you as well, the NASCAR from Atlanta this weekend is on USON YouTube channel, USON Radio, and it's going to air on JB Motorsports Twitch. So that's where we're going to be for that. So it's going to be a bit of a weird one. Ted's in the commentary box for a second, actually. So let's go back up there quickly.
At RB. Thank you, Alex. Yes, hello again from the pit lane, and hello to your guests up there, to Laura and Jolien as well. Right, down at RB, where they are doing a suspension change on Daniel Ricciardo's car. So you can just see the mechanic here on the left-hand side as we look at it, changing well, it's the camber basically. So making a camber change, and you make that on the upright. I was going to say the suspension upright, but as it's a pull rod, it's essentially a downright, if that makes sense. Anyway, doesn't make sense. But yeah, in the car, just waiting patiently with his visor down, is Daniel Ricciardo. I was talking earlier in the day about all the new people around coming into the team, how that's going to take a bit of time to settle in, which is true. But actually, I thought the key quote from the press conference earlier, where Danny Rick was talking about his continuing motivation. And I can understand, Jolien, maybe this chimes with you, or Laura, you're talking about your driving experience, you can imagine, and Alex too, that, you know, he had a nice winter away, and then he got to the new year, and immediately he was liking getting into sending text messages to engineers to try and think about the car, what he wants from it, trying to think of testing, what kind of run plan he wants to do while he's here, and then found himself motivated enough to go and do some weight training and go to the gym as well. So it got me thinking, you know, those would be the first two things that if I was a driver thinking that, well, I'm not interested in this Formula One lark anymore, I would think about, oh, do I have to start getting involved with the engineers and having ideas about the car, and I don't really want to go and train now. But Daniel pointing out those two very things as things that tell him that he is motivated to carry on. As Lando Norris just revs his engine in the background, I just want to show you something. While the Williams car is in the background with the issue that you've already spoken about, the drive shaft issue, just want to show what Williams now have as their computer screensavers. And I think this is probably down to the influence and motivational acumen of James Vowles. But as their screensaver, and you can see there's a sort of familiar Microsoft Word clock in the bottom of it, the screensaver, or the desktop, is these buzzwords: innovation, teamwork, resilience, excellence, and accountability. There you go, 5 key buzzwords that now are to be shown on every computer desktop, certainly, as far as I can see it, on the Williams pit wall. Do you like them, guys? Should we live our lives by those buzzwords?
No.
Innovation, teamwork, resilience, excellence, and accountability.
Sounds like you're going to go into a Daft Punk song at any moment, Ted.
I'm going to live my life by those 5 buzzwords.
I think we can take inspiration from them. I think we can take inspiration from them
generally.
It's very corporate, isn't it?
I need to
Oh,
change the
my
card.
word. Very corporate.
No, accountability is a good one. I like that. I wish Christian Horner would take that one to heart. We did get some news, by the way.
Oh, what? Have I missed this? Go on.
This isn't big news. This is from Formula E, actually. So Jeff Dodds, the current CEO of Formula E, has promised to pay $250,000 to charity if Max Verstappen fails to win the Formula One title this season. So he's trying to make a backhanded comment, putting his money where his mouth is about how predictable Formula One's. He says, unless he's injured or something crazy happens, it's 99% guaranteed that he, brackets Verstappen, gets that trophy, said Dodds in an interview with TNT Sports. If any one of the other 19 drivers wins it, we'll give $250,000 to the charity of choice of the other driver that wins it. It wouldn't be the worst day in the office to give a load of money to charity, but absolutely he is nailed on to win that season. You know what I think? If Jeff Dodds really cared about charities, he would donate anyway, regardless of whether Verstappen wins it.
I hope he loses now. Really do.
I think, Jeff Dodds actually liked a post that Pico made on the Formula E Zone Instagram account. If only we could get Jeff Dodds on. It's like, a few questions for Jeff about PIF and Saudi and now this bet, this needless sort of holding money over charities' heads, like he's somehow, it's all Max Verstappen's fault if you don't get the money. It's like, what?
That is a bit. The thing is, if it was a bet, I would do a bet like, if I lose this race, I'll donate, and even if I don't, then you donate. Like, it's one or the other, then the money still goes. And then...
It's not a direct competitor, it feels a bit like...
Yeah, and then afterwards I would say, let's both donate the money.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil the Taylor Tomlinson Netflix show for you.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
But there is a thing where she's in a bidding war for some gloves worn by Wolverine. And Wolverine comes out and says, if they both match each other's donations, there's 2 gloves. So that's how much it is for charity and all that. So you'll be good on that. Me and Megan have already booked that in, I believe, to watch Deadpool Wolverine.
Yes.
July 28th. Yeah, good.
Around about that, yeah.
Somewhere around there. Is there another one we've got to do?
Yes, because Phantom Menace is coming back into the theatres.
That's the one.
In April, I think it is, because it's 25th
If you like
anniversary.
politics, because I remember seeing a lot of that.
Oh, and Jar Jar Binks as well.
Yeah, Jar Jar's the only thing that shows any life and excitement in that movie. I think people are too harsh on Jar. Poor Ahmed Best, he got apparently suicidal after all the bullying he got for that role.
Yeah, everyone loves him as a Jedi.
Poor Jake Lloyd as well.
I'll tell you one thing though. When Qui-Gon died, it took me 2 minutes to realise he was actually dead.
That's because it took him so long to actually die.
He's a whole
there was like a whole fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul that happened after he got stabbed. So he took a long time for that lightsaber wound to finish him off.
People don't even die from that nowadays.
If only Obi-Wan knew about force healing.
Yeah.
Which is apparently not just
if only
a thing.
Qui-Gon had survived another 5 minutes
Yeah.
until anti-lightsaber medication was invented in the Star Wars universe, where everyone seems to recover instantly. There's a great YouTube channel, I think by a guy called Charlie Hopkins, where he gets these sort of he sort of impersonates Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
I have seen that.
Yeah, and it's great because
that.
it's Qui-Gon reacting to these Disney Plus shows like the Ahsoka show and whatever, and the Obi-Wan show, where a lot of characters get stabbed and then recover. And Qui-Gon's like, oh no, that I know how this goes. Oh, poor, I really like that character. Oh, that's a shame. And then it cuts to the next scene where they're in hospital. What? Why didn't you tell me about this?
There's a hospital after that?
One thing I love about that as well is about Sabine. Didn't do a very good job, did they? Because if in one of the scenes, if you notice, her collar's a bit loose, and you can see some bite marks on her neck.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say anything about the actress's personal life, but a little bit revealing on a children's show to have those on your neck. Yeah. So, oh dear.
Very funny.
Very funny. Yeah. When I noticed it, I was like, oh hello.
Oh, what was
I don't know. I feel like I don't watch the show, so it's not really any of my business either way.
Do you know if he actually played Darth Maul?
I haven't seen the last episode of Ahsoka yet, have we?
No, we haven't. Do you know if he actually played Darth Maul? He left an earring in during the filming of Phantom Menace.
Park.
Yeah, and now he And now they're just like, you left it in, now Darth Maul has an earring for the rest of time. Because you left it in.
Really?
Yeah, they weren't planning to do that. He just accidentally left it in during filming. And they were just like, we can't film that scene again now.
That's unusually...
That's canon. That's character now.
That's unusually...
All aliens from this planet have to have an earring in that ear.
That is unusually... I'm trying to think of a better word than what began with an A for George Lucas. Because usually he's quite on it in terms of, you know...
He's usually very, very exacting about his world building, especially in those Star Wars prequels, because there was no one looking over. It was he was his own sort of studio, essentially, making those movies, and that almost nobody could criticize him. And it's very clear in Phantom Menace, especially when you look at the behind the scenes of that, where he'll come up with some crazy idea, and like Spielberg or whoever else is there will just say, yeah, that's good, George. Yeah, you should do that. Yeah.
Surrounded by yes men.
There's very little pushback.
That's what I mean.
It's really oddly when you get to the later prequel when Samuel L. Jackson has a big role and he's like, oh, can I have a purple lightsaber?
Yeah.
You start to see maybe, and you can sort of see the reaction to Jar Jar being quite bad, that he sort of reduces that. We'll put 50% less Jar Jar in this movie.
He wasn't even in Revenge of the Sith.
No.
He was
no, he's at the funeral at the end.
Yeah.
Padme dies, isn't he?
He made one appearance. He destroyed the Republic and just decided to scarp her.
It's all right. He turned out to be a homeless clown entertaining children, and yet all the adults hated him because they know what he did.
Just like Boris Johnson.
Oh my God, yeah.
Hey Josh,
Go on, Adam.
it's called. I'm going to ask. It's called. We'll start with you, Josh and Megan, and go around. Since we're talking Star Wars, what's your favorite Star Wars movie or
Revenge
character?
of the Sith.
Empire Strikes Back. I love that film.
Thank you.
It's my
Thank you.
go-to.
Who is my favourite character?
Yes.
And no, it's not the first
I'll
one on my
go for
phone
the
case.
original Star Wars from 1977 is probably my favourite, although I do really like the confrontation between Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, and the Emperor in Return of the Jedi. I think that's amazing. The rest of the film with the Ewoks, it's fine. I think the first Star Wars is just probably my favourite of the bunch, although I think Empire also. I remember really disliking Empire when I was a kid because it wasn't what I was expecting, but now I like it a lot more.
Megan? Omi, what about you? Have you Star Wars?
No.
No, I thought.
Fair enough.
Oh, me.
I don't know why this
Come on
happened. I'm sorry. I think this Megan was talking about Phantom Menace being re-released
Megan's
again.
just gone into
I'm trying to figure out who's my favourite character now.
I wonder.
No, it is not Kylo.
Megan, your phone case is literally Kylo Ren.
He's my favourite new series one. Either that or General Hux.
Okay, weird.
But my
I gloated when he
think
died. Spoiler alert, but
I think Darth Vader might be my favourite apart from that.
What a surprise.
Or Ventress. Because I find her
You're
hilarious.
annoyed that Ventress is alive.
And Obi.
Clone War.
Because she canonically died! You cannot retcon canon when she canonically died!
And we're back.
Canonically.
Yes.
Canonically, Megan.
We're back to Megan ranting. First one of the year, everyone. Note it down somewhere in the log.
And it's about Ventress's
You realise
death.
they make this up
I got it.
so
I got it, Josh. I got it.
Anyway, we're about to see the time attacks. 30 minutes to go. Are you vanishing?
I still agree with the Empire.
Are you vanishing?
Yes.
All right.
Lisa. Wow. I didn't realise Megan was a fascist.
Oh, yes.
Megan, you don't want to play anymore.
No, I like the Empire. I reckon I could have ruled it a lot better though.
Full-on separatist is Megan.
You've been watching Andor again, haven't you, with the girl boss character?
I haven't actually watched Andor yet. I have been watching a lot.
Andor.
Oh, actually, I know who my favourite character is.
You're going to go Rogue One, aren't you?
No, Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan. Yeah, all right.
Bo-Katan Kryze.
I'll go with
She's
Bo.
my favourite.
I'd agree with you.
Ultimate girl boss character.
Yes.
I love her. She's amazing.
I love the actress that plays her because she was also in Battlestar Galactica. What's her name?
Yeah, that's
I
right.
can't remember off
Name?
my head. Yeah.
What's her
but
name?
Played Starbuck
Katie Sackhoff.
in
Yeah.
Katie Sackhoff. That's
Yeah.
it.
Bye. No,
Bye.
Megan, before you take it off, mute. Come on. Otherwise, you deafen everyone. Hey, you're learning. Bye-bye.
30 minutes to go then. Looks like Verstappen's come back out to play.
So Megan vanishes. And we will throw down to the pit lane with Kick Sauber. Ted.
On the monitors, and the 77 at the back of the garage of Valtteri Bottas. But as I can assure you, as you can see in number 24, it is Zhou Guanyu in the car. But they've just had these cake tins off on the brakes. They've just done the right-hand side as we look at it. Now they're doing the left, and they're doing the right rear brake as well. Just wanting to check the wear, check the temperatures, all part of what testing is all about. Nothing to be concerned about, but it is something they're doing. You can see the brake, investigating the brake cooling and the brake disc and caliper on the rear of the car as we look at it right now. So yeah, a few concerned faces, but as I say, that's something that they just need to sort out. Zhou Guanyu's had a good day so far. I think he's P9 in the timings, not that that's particularly relevant, but yeah, he's been solid as he looks to improve his impact on this team and on Formula One as a whole. So yeah, the car looks good. James Key, the new technical director, or rather the technical director, is returning to his old team, but he's new from the end of last year, is looking at everything, as is Andreas Seidel. So the CEO of the company is not really forward-facing. He's in the garage as well. He's just around the center console. I'm looking at it now, decked out in the green. There you go. We can see him at the back of the center console at the back of the garage. So he's getting involved as much as he is as well down here at Sauber. And if you're wondering why I keep calling them Sauber, well, I'm going with Sauber. I know people are calling them Steak, but as far as I can tell, that's a sponsor. So if Sauber's all right with me, is it all right with you guys? We're talking about names, RB and Sauber.
It works for me, Ted Kravitz. It works for me.
Right.
They've been running as Sauber in some form since 1993.
Yep, Sauber it is.
RB confuses me because it makes me think of there was an old TV series, old now, it's about 10 years old I think, called on Channel 4 called Utopia, and one of the main villain antagonists of that was a character played by Neil Maskell called RB. And basically it's a conspiracy thriller, and he would basically, all he ever did was he would interrogate and intimidate people, and he would ask them, where is Jessica Hyde? So whenever I hear RB, that's exactly what I think of. A guy in a bright yellow jacket that goes around murdering people and demanding to know where Jessica Hyde is.
I remember that. It's a weird show. It's a weird test.
It was very weird, yes. The first season's really good. The second season is really packed because all the characters make really dumb decisions.
Yeah.
Like, there's some good bits in it, but it's very patchy.
We are seeing Max Verstappen in the fastest first sector, 29.066, second sector 39.284, coming across the line. He's about to obliterate the 131.662. How much faster is he? 3/10 on the C3 tyre, and he was slow still in the third sector. So 131.344, still below the 1 minute 30s that we usually see at this track, but that will decrease slowly across testing.
And he's still got the fastest first sector, hasn't he, as we see on the screen?
Well, he's 1.1 quicker than Norris. Should we just take this year off? You know, go to 2025, last year regulations, everything smooth.
Yeah. Sure. I'm good with that.
Blimey, I know Red Bull are under investigation at the moment with all that, but it's Jonathan Whitney said done something on the pit wall. He's solo. Go on, Adam.
He's just he's trying to take the attention away from Christian.
Sure. He's going to all take 2024 off, and we can go right into the 2025 F1 season. I think it'll be kind of crazy. Like I said earlier, drivers and new teams like Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari, I still have to wrap my mind around that. It's going to be weird not seeing Lewis Hamilton in a Mercedes. You know what I mean?
Massively so.
I thought it was weird seeing him in a Mercedes and not a McLaren at first, but we've had about a decade to get used to that.
That's true. That's good.
He was still in silver, so it didn't bother me too much.
True.
I think what bothered me a lot was when he, everything that went wrong at McLaren in the last few races as well. It was a very ugly falling out, and that's what I'm worried about happening with Mercedes as well.
Well, to be fair with McLaren, it wasn't like he fell out with Martin Whitmarsh or Jenson Button. He was a bit younger and his ego got in the way, clearly, because there was that race at Spa where Button got on pole and Hamilton leaked the telemetry on Twitter, which was probably not not the smartest thing he's ever done because it gave, ultimately, arguably helped the other teams catch up to McLaren and lost McLaren that competitive advantage they had because Red Bull and Ferrari just streaked ahead of them in the final quarter of that season.
And yet no
But
one
yeah, and
remembers of
then
it.
obviously, then there was reliability issues like Singapore comes to mind especially, and that
remember
was
that
where
one.
Niki Lauda basically convinced him, as we see Lance Stroll going, oh, just destroying the tyres, and he's got so much Flovis paint it feels a little bit like the Aston is ripening in before our eyes.
It isn't it? It does, doesn't it? It looks it's been under. Oh, has he damaged the front? No,
On my banana.
I thought he damaged the front wing, but it's the Flovis on the Aramco logo. It's kind of like a bit confusing.
Looks
Yeah.
like it's covered in stickly oil, appropriately enough.
Appropriately enough, yeah. Yeah, the Formula One Aramco pre-season testing. Do you remember when pre-season testing used to be just about the teams, and now it's about Formula One going, oh right, we can make money out of this, quickly get a sponsor.
Yes, exactly. Although it's not like Formula E where they don't televise pre-season testing whatsoever anywhere. It's all just we just watch it on the main screen. But they at least let the fans in. I know they basically relocated to Valencia Formula E, which I was surprised they didn't do earlier because after Brexit it sort of felt inevitable that they were going to shut up shop at Donington and move over because the costs of importing everything to the UK after each season would have been astronomical at a certain point, especially after 2020.
I thought it was already in Valencia because we had it that all the cars were being
Yeah, well, the
stored
testing
there.
was, but the HQ and their stuff was still at Donington, wasn't it? Technically, and they had a few teams that were still there as well.
Oh no, didn't know that one. 'Cause,
Norris pushing it through paces.
I'll be at Donington on April the 16th. Live coverage of the British Touring Car season launch. So we'll be covering their pre-season test as well. Live from trackside, the last hour will be trackside, and I'll be getting all the interviews throughout the day as well, and going around with a microphone solo, getting all the information, unless Josh T appears. Omi, you could come. Ed, you could come.
Cool.
Adam, I wish you could.
All I can say is that I can't wait to be on the call of a few British Touring Car Championship races with you again, Josh, like you did last year with Knockout.
Oh yeah, it's been fun.
But yeah, Josh, when you go to the launch, I actually have a question you can ask the drivers if you like. Ask them what motorsport series, they like to watch outside of obviously the BTCC. I mean, I want to know if anyone watch, say, NASCAR or Formula One or IndyCar. I think it'd be kind of cool to find out, if those drivers pay attention to other motorsport series across the world.
I'll ask him. We've got an interview. We haven't got the
I mean,
schedule
which
yet.
one, or whether they pay attention, because I'm pretty sure the answer, do they pay attention to other series? The answer is yes, and it's a very simple one.
Which one do they watch religiously? I've got a feeling a few of them would be NASCAR, I've just got a feeling, because it'd be stock cars similar to them, so... I'll ask them. That'd be quite interesting, actually, that. I'll be live for the final. Now, what the plan currently is, last hour, I'll go for a walk around Donington, live on air, and they're going to be here controlling all the streams and all that lot, and throughout the day, and then afterwards I'll go in the paddock and try and get some interviews live, but during the day, we'll be doing a separate show of a pre-launch that we can segment into the opener of the touring car season, which is at Donington, so we can get some interviews and that we can play them throughout the first race, pre-race on the Sunday when the season starts. So a lot of preparation work going on this year for the touring cars to actually make sure we have a very good product to deliver to you back at home. Verstappen's on a race simulation now on those tyres. He's 4 laps old on them, so it's not going to be as quick a run, but he's got an unidentified car ahead of him because it's not even showing up on my driver track. It's one of the, it's the Sauber, so it has to be
Joe, I
brand
think.
new.
Bottas is in the pit lane.
But he's not appearing on the driver tracker at all. It's just Verstappen. It's really bizarre. They're not... I don't know. On the driver tracker, we're just seeing Verstappen.
It's all that Flovis, it's making them invisible.
It's camoed. Which is actually the new Aston Martin safety car livery. Which I don't like. You've camouflaged the safety car. Weird, that.
Invisible safety car.
Yeah.
It's like Wonder Woman's invisible invisible plane or whatever, invisible jet, isn't it?
It just reminded me of that joke from Vickery Dibley about Wonder Woman, the Invisible Man, and Superman. There's Lando
Now,
Norris.
Norris made that corner, but the tyre looks like it didn't have a good time there.
Did he? Yeah. Locked up. Got it in as well on the front left. It's so easy to do, to snag it. You trail brake into that part of the track.
Yeah, it just under-rotates, doesn't it?
He's on the hard. He's on the C1s. Maximum tyre.
Oh, yeah. He's abusing them as well.
Apparently they've abandoned the C0 tyre as well, just let you know. So the C0's gone.
Oh, the hardest compound.
That never appeared anywhere last year, and it was supposed to. Yeah, it's gone. So we're back to C1, C2, C3, C4, and C5. Only 3 of those compounds can be used across the weekend. Next weekend, it's the C1, the C2, and the C3, which is hard, medium, and soft. Oh, debris. On the start-finish straight, down towards turn 1. And that is quite a bit, actually. That might either cause a virtual safety car or a brief red flag.
Towards turn, it is. Yeah, I thought that was just the pit exit, isn't it? Effectively,
Oh.
just before it.
That's just going to go straight over it as well. And that's carbon fibre is running over. It's like shards as well. They can't leave that there.
Yeah, the tiny ones won't be so bad. It's the bigger ones that more will. It's come off the hat, hasn't it?
Oh, hit the bump, and look at it. Hulkenberg actually lost understeering at the bottom. Oh, and it's a mirror. It's a mirror. Oh, and it gets hit by hat. So it's a Boss mirror.
It came off the Aston.
Yeah, it's come off of Lance Stroll's Aston. There it goes, bang.
Yeah.
Flies down, and that's Ricciardo avoiding it expertly.
Well, I mean, just, yeah.
And Hulkenberg blind.
We got bits of mirror on the track. That could be a bit of a...
Yeah, that glass as well. Yeah, it's gone. It's the right. Well, it'll have to be a red flag.
I feel like these mirrors are used more as weapons in modern F1, like projectiles, rather than anything helpful to let cars through the lap you or anything.
It's the red shield in Mario Kart. Away you go.
Is it red shell?
Yeah, that's the one, not red shield.
Yeah. So you had a homing mirror, a blue shell, yes.
That's the one. That's the one.
We need some of those like Max Verstappen, yeah.
Can you imagine that happened in Formula 1 and Max Verstappen just getting hit every 5 seconds?
To me, that's
I will say this, Joshua.
Or something.
I always like to play Super Mario Kart, especially I love playing on the Nintendo 64, and I would always be Mario.
We need a Team Mario match. I don't think all of us have a Switch, but we should find an emulator and try and get all on and have a Mario match.
Yeah. I do have. I've been playing a lot of Lego 2K Drive, which is a bit like Mario Kart, except you get to build the cars as well.
Yeah, I've downloaded that actually on the PS5. Is it any good? It's good.
It's the CI5 1845. That's me. If
Am I going to play a game?
Me. Or do the battle mode. Yeah. Oh no, he's sounding like Jigsaw already. That's not a good sign.
Would you like to play a game, Ed? Would you like to play a game?
Would you like to get your posterior beat? Yeah.
I'm going to lose.
The driver training for the FS2, because I've got all the levels. I know all the tricks and the shortcuts.
Oh right, that's true.
I can teach you a few, but
that's better.
And I've also tried to build as many Formula E cars as I can.
Oh, he's got an advantage. He's got the ultimate advantage.
No, to be fair, my cars are all really heavy. I've also made all the cars from the professionals, and they're great battle cars, but they're really heavy.
Ted's in the pits at McLaren.
From Max Verstappen, it was on a fresh set of C3s. I'm just waiting to see what current P2 man Lando Norris goes out on. I think it's the same tyres he did that last run on. So we're just about to go out. But summing up McLaren's day, very, very solid. There's good pace in the car. It's been reliable. They've been going through all of their data acquisition. Oscar Piastri in the morning managed to have a good number of laps, and Lando in the afternoon, not quite as many, I think. I haven't got the actual number, but I haven't felt like Lando's done quite as many as Oscar. Maybe you can tell me about that. As we see the tyres come off. Yeah, oh, it's a new set of C4s, isn't it? With the solid white stripe. So that's going to be interesting. Let's see what Lando can do on the harder tyre. But yeah, very solid. They've done their data acquisition. They've done the flow-vis experiments they needed to do on the brake duct, on the rear wing, etc., etc. And as we see the Ferrari going out on a used set of C3s, well, let's let Lando go on his outlap and see what he can do on that harder set of tyres. Right, that's it for me. I've got to go and do the interviews, such as they are at the end of the day, as we're approaching 7 p.m. the end of the day. And I'll join you bright and early tomorrow.
Cheers, Ted. Abby Dewhurst, who is a dear friend of mine as well and is the BBC weather presenter on BBC Look North, has tweeted saying, "There's a pigeon flying around Pets at Home store in Leeds. Staff member I paid said, yeah, he's been here 5 days, eaten most of the bird's feed balls and keeps pooing. Apparently he has to be here 2 weeks for anyone to do anything." And she said, smart pigeon. Very smart pigeon as well. Hope you're right, Abby. Again, loves Formula One, loves motorsport,
Yeah,
but keen
I
advocate
will
for
say,
Formula E.
you know, speaking of Legos, you guys know that there is a actual Legoland in California you can go to, and you can go and see like some cool stuff that's been built by Legos. That is on my bucket list to go one day.
I've put it on the list. We've got a couple of Lego. I think we've got a Legoland in the UK. I know we've got a Legoland, but it's not that
You got
good.
one in Windsor, Josh.
Yeah, it's not that
Very
good, is it?
expensive.
Yeah, and not that good.
And overpriced.
Yeah. Of course, it's in Windsor. Everything's
I've
in
only been
Windsor.
like once. Yeah, it was, yeah, exactly. It's like Royal Family plaything, sort of.
I mean, I would say yes, but I am directly related to the royal family, and I have also sat across.
I don't see you with a castle, Josh.
No. Well, I did actually watch a Punch and Judy show at Sandringham alongside the Duke of York's daughters. So, not Duke of York. Duke of. Who's that? Which one's Edward? Because Duke of York is Andrew, isn't it? Which one's Duke of Edward?
Yeah, that's not something to be proud of.
No, what's the other one?
Association.
What's the other one?
Frankly, association with the royals comes off as
Yes.
rather desperate.
Is-
you're trying to
yeah,
seem like you're higher born than you actually are, and that all the rest of us low life don't matter.
Which one is it? Which one is Edward? Is it Sussex? Is he Duke of Sussex?
I don't care. I don't really care, Josh.
I can't remember.
Because these random people who are descended from our betters born years ago, it doesn't really have any kind of relevance in the modern world to me, at least.
I am related to 4 monarchs actually, well, directly as well.
Big deal. Hooray for look nice on your
Yeah, I
CV.
gotta call you Sir Josh.
Yes, exactly. Let's rub it in. Why don't we?
Actually, my father, of course, Ian
Duke
Birch.
of Lincoln.
Actually, no, he calls me Duke of Earl a lot, and he's got a little song as well. He's probably watching now,
Good
laughing.
time.
Oops.
And no, wait a minute. I have the perfect name. It's called Josh. We call the Duke of Motorsports.
That'll do. I love that one.
I think that works.
Hopefully, Dad's going to appear at some point in the commentary this weekend for a bit of pre-season testing. I do know, however, whether he likes it or not, I've repaired his headset, and he will be commentating in Bahrain in a week's time. Surprise!
No escape for poor Dad. Hasn't he suffered enough, Josh?
Yes, but he can suffer a bit more.
Oh, okay.
I've got him a green screen as well set up. He doesn't even have to come in the garage anymore. I've got him the green screen set up. I've got him I repaired his headset. I've new bus mixer, everything. Well, that's mainly for the MotoGP when it clashes. But yeah.
He comes off as always as a lovely man when we've seen him before, so we've got to wish Ian all the best. And yeah, we know he loves talking about Formula One with you, and sometimes we're there too. But yeah, it was great to see it.
He'll be back. He'll be back. I mean, he's recovering brilliantly, actually, as well. We during the winter break, of course. If you didn't know, he wasn't in the end of the commentary last year because he suffered Bell's palsy as well, which is a stroke-like event. He has recovered his eye, thankfully, as well. He was on medication for a long time. I know, because I had to push him at every single hospital appointment around the hospital, which was fine. It was just a depressing place to be. Not because of what I was having with him. I was fine, but it was because it was just a depressing area to wait in. And everything bad that kept happening was I was sort of shoved in a room to think about for 45 minutes. Not great. But it's always at 9 a.m. in a bloody morning as well. But yeah, he's fine now and everything. He's off the drops and he's recovering well. And,
Hey Josh, you want to put me down for next Saturday for the F1 Bahrain Grand Prix in the box?
Possibly, not sure. Because I only say that because I
We
don't
have a
know
little
if he's on
problem.
screen
Hold
3. I don't know if we're going to need screen 3 for Dan. That's all. Because if he's in the com box, then yeah. If he's not, then no. But I will put you down, Adam. Either way, you can just hang around in the background, so sure.
Cool.
That's a good
Fine.
point.
Oh yeah, you want to put me down for Friday for the last 2 hours, the 9 a.m. and
Oh yeah, sure thing. Yeah,
10
yeah,
a.m.
yeah.
session for because
We'll be back
I'm
on
off work Friday, so I'll come in, on Friday morning as well.
We'll put it on the list. And
My dad is. Oh, sorry.
no, go on. I was going to throw it to
I
you
was
anyway.
going to say, that's okay. Yeah, my dad has decided to save money by cancelling the Sky Sports subscription until the cricket season starts again.
Well, you know where
that
to come.
means first 2 or 3 races I'm probably going to have to miss watching live because of that.
Why?
So I'll either watch Channel 4 highlight. Well, because we won't have Sky and it's only on there live, so
Ed?
we might have to either watch Channel 4 highlights or come on. I might have to go on here and do what you were suggesting Adam does, which is just watch in the background.
Yeah, just turn your mic and camera off. Won't affect the stream like Omi. Yeah, like Omi's
Tell
done.
the TV people.
That's true. Just the broadcast people who've got access to the commentary box. But yeah. But Adam will be there, and hopefully Jess will appear as well. Ideally, what I want to do this year in the commentary is have the usual 3 boxes of 2 other commentators on Discord. I'm there as well, and then just have everybody behind the scenes, so that at any moment that you can all pipe up and go, well, actually, I thought of this of the accident or this of the race so far. A bit like how in the old days on BBC, Eddie Jordan and David Coulthard used to pipe up as well during the race. That's what I want, so that everybody can have a voice. And then we'll read through the chat as well. That's what Jackson was doing this morning, actually, as well, popping in. And Maddie Patterson joining us as well for some races on MotoGP this year. And Julia's back as well with us. And it's just such a fun unit we've got now. It's going to be great. I generally think we've got the biggest commentary team of any channel. I think there's about 26 of us that is fighting for positions across it all.
Well, it has to be big because of the variety of series that we cover.
That is true, yeah. Yeah. We've got. I think there's like a main unit, and then everybody else just has their own series, and occasionally we all like, okay, let's merge now. Tell you what though,
I'm very glad that Omi's offered to help with EES endurance commentary, so we're going to be doing the middle 2 hours of the 6 hours of Nürburgring together on Saturday, so I'm looking forward to that.
Lovely.
Saturday. I might see if
By the way, Omi, if you've got any questions, this might not be the best time to ask them, but feel free to put them my way if you want to know about the championship, because there's like 4 different classes to cover. Oh no, it's 5, so 5 different classes to keep on top of.
Oh god.
2 LMP2s, 2 GT3 classes, and a hypercar class as well.
Timing screen's decent though, so it's actually quite good.
Lovely.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah. Oh, you were doing a bit of Bahrain, weren't you, at the end of last year? So
Until everything
that's still the
died.
setup.
Yeah. Literally until everything went kaput, and I had to run in and as well.
Yeah, 'cause that was the same day, yes, as Ian collapsed. So.
Yeah, not
Which I didn't know about. So I was like, "Are you okay, Josh?" He just disappeared, obviously without saying anything, because that was more important.
Yeah,
But I didn't know what was happening. So
yeah, and then I came
We
back.
did get one of the drivers to fill in. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I got tapped in, said Dad's not well, and everything, and I was like, oh great. So I had to run in quickly and help him. That was last year.
Definitely did the right thing.
Oh yeah. I just felt really, really bad because it was like I had to literally throw the headset off. I couldn't. I didn't think. because he was literally on the floor. But he's fine. He's probably watching now.
5 minutes to go.
Oh yeah, I can say hi to Jess in the YouTube chat. She's watching, and I can't wait to work with her again this year. Always a fun time working with Jess.
I think the first time we actually see Jess, because Saturday, of course, is for the race. She'll be racing the Creator Series, if I'm right, for F2. So I think the first time we see Jess is Saudi Arabia, when she'll be leading our F1 Academy Series. The 2 races we have then across the weekend.
I don't know what Creator Series they'll put it at the same time as F1. I mean,
yeah,
I guess
true.
they would want to watch as well.
Just already helping with the Saudi race in FE this year. We have seen her.
It was Jess in race 1 and Josh in race 2. Yeah.
That was it, yes.
Yeah.
Because I for some reason missed race 2. Well, actually, I missed both races. I'm not really meant to be watching. I was just watching you guys just to see what you think.
That's fine.
Your take on things.
And I would have said to Adam and Omi, but we had to prep for the Daytona 24 hours. I thought that was more because it was like right after, so it all just sort of shifted along. Typical. We had a great start to the year, and February, the middle part of February, has just gone. That's it. You can start struggling now. No Creator Series next week. Our Bahrain Creator Series is the race is this week. Oh, I see. Okay. What about Saudi? What's happening in Saudi? Because that's a Saturday race too.
Yes, it is.
It is, of course, yeah.
I'll be there. Yeah.
Okay.
Did I tell you guys with 3 minutes to go? Did I tell you that I watched the Michael Mann Ferrari movie back in January?
You did.
I don't think I brought that up.
I think you've put it in the chat, but I didn't know you saw it because I was supposed to see that, and then I, don't talk to the person I was supposed to see it with anymore. But what did you think of it? Is it good?
I think it was interesting. I think you can tell Michael Mann is a bit of a stickler for detail. Some of the CGI for some of the crashes is kind of wonky. So poor Gino Castellotti has his car. It's with more the editing that makes some of them a bit weird. Like at the beginning, Castellotti and it's the real story. He was testing at Marinette, or was it Modena? I think the sort of track they have there. It wasn't Fiorano, but it was the other one in Italy. And he basically gets Wenzel goes over a curb, gets flung out the car, which did happen, and sort of gets killed by the impact. But the way the car sort of starts going up, and then suddenly cuts to a shot from underneath, and it looks like he's gained like 40 meters in the space of a cut. It looks a bit weird. But I thought Adam Driver was very good as Enzo. I actually was surprised. He was very reserved in his performance. It was very subtle, not big and overplayed. The Italian accents from some of them weren't great because it sort of covered a lot of Enzo's personal life. So him and obviously there's his wife Laura, who he owned, played by Penelope Cruz, and Penelope Cruz is very good. It's sort of the angry wife because everyone seems to know that Enzo has started a new family apart from her, of course, and there's all the stuff with Dino, who of course got sick, and sort of the aftermath of that, and him starting his new family. There's something to Milli Miglia as well. That's probably some of the best driving scenes, because there's like a little bit of the French Grand Prix where we briefly see Fangio, but that's like one scene that's like 30 seconds or so, and most of the racing is Milli Miglia at the end, which is for the most part well done, because they get across how crazy it is with people.
Yeah.
Literally just racing in the middle of the street with like crowds of people. It reminds me of some of that Group B rally footage as well.
The Milli Miglia.
Anything I would say is they have Patrick Dempsey playing Piero Taruffi, and in the film Taruffi drives that car which won the Milli Miglia in '57. He drives it completely alone, but in real life he actually made an agreement with his wife Isabella to say, right, if I win this race, I'm never competing in motor racing again. I'm going to retire and settle down with you and have family and stuff. Isabella agreed to be the co-driver with him, and that's not shown in the movie, and that feels to me like
that's a bit snubbed. Yeah,
it's a big snub, and it's part of it is so they can have a scene where John Berra gets pushed off track and then hitches a lift with Piero Taruffi. It would have been awkward if they had Piero Taruffi's wife in the upper seat and John Berra just sitting on top of her. But
of course, there's no third seat, is there, in the back? That's true. Yeah.
not really, no, because it's just a two-seater, the
Two-seater, the
250.
Mille, yeah.
Sorry, yeah, but that I thought that was a bit of a shame because they did such a good job of highlighting Laura Ferrari and her role in the company being quite big, and her being, you know, a sort of intelligent operator as Enzo, although Enzo may be a little bit, well, even more ruthless than her, arguably. But it was a shame that they did such a good job of showing the women on the political side at Ferrari, but they sort of snubbed Isabella, given that she's like one of the only female winners of the Mille Miglia, and that was like the last race they did before Mille Miglia got cancelled for reasons that are very, very obvious in the movie, to do with Alfonso Di Portaggio, who is a very, very big part of the movie, surprisingly. I thought he would just die at the end and that would sort of be it, but they do focus a lot on him. They don't give him a lot of characterization, but they focus a lot on him. So we get a lovely shot of the Flovis highlighting those ducts.
That's what you're
either
pointing
side
out,
of
yeah.
Verstappen's head there.
Check it
Flying
flies
out.
out. I'm going to have to watch this movie. I know it's made by Sky as well, so it'll be coming to Sky Cinemas, and I will put it on the DVR.
Yeah, there's lots of good bits. I think a lot of people described it as boring, but I sort of watch a lot of these slow-paced older movies. It felt like a very old-school Michael Mann movie. There's a great scene at the beginning.
Yeah.
I love the way it sort of shows how Ferrari at that time is like on par with Christianity as a religion, because there's a bit where Enzo and the Ferrari team go to church while Maserati are trying to break the black record at Modena, and sermon's going on. The sermon is like, oh, if Jesus was alive today, he wouldn't be a carpenter, he'd be an engine builder for Mr. Enzo Ferrari, and sort of comparing Enzo to God. And then he's got like, everyone's not listening to the rest of the lecture, get their stopwatches out because they're trying to figure out, well, how fast is John Berry going in the Maserati, basically. It shows how they're all just thinking about races. There's lots of really, really nice touches in there. Like, there's one or two things that I felt were could have been done a little bit better, but I think there's some good performances in it, and I think that sort of is what's. I wish it was covered a bigger time period, because there's so much interesting stuff that happens after the movie, like not just stuff like him hiring Gilles Villeneuve in like the late 70s and that relationship, but also stuff like in the 60s there was the Palace Revolt, which was just before the negotiations with Ford start, and they allude a little bit to that in the movie, but there was like a whole thing about his wife leaving to sort of start their own team ATS and taking Phil Hill with her, and a lot of the mechanics, and ends up having to promote all these younger people in the department who just sort of stayed on out of loyalty to him, and that ended up being a lot of the people that went on to build like the dominant F1 team in like the 70s with Niki Lauda and such. So
I'm gonna have to.
That was in the movie, but I can understand they want to focus specifically on Mille Miglia, on Enzo, this sort of really period where everything in his life's going to shit, basically, and how he survived.
Practice starts taking up at the end of the day then. Only one driver took a practice start this morning. That was George Russell on the grid, lined up on P1. Now every driver has been reminded you can do practice starts if you so wish. But Russell's done a full day. He'll get tomorrow morning, then that'll be him done for the test. Verstappen will get tomorrow afternoon as Perez takes over in the morning. Perez will then get the entirety of day 3 on board with Lando. Not a bad start there, just a bit of a slip of the clutch, and he didn't get away well. Let's have a look at Gasly's then, as he revs up to the crescendo. First gear selected, bringing it up about 12,000 RPM. It's not perfect. The first start they've done, you can hear the clutch sort of dragging away, and then revs just going up and down in the gearbox. Not a good start at all there. Okay, let's go through.
I like how he's got the blue helmet to differentiate from Ocon's red helmet, because they had very similar helmets last year, so somebody's made a note of that, and Alpine have coordinated a bit better.
Finally some difference between them. That's going to be fantastic to see going forward. Here's the times then from pre-season testing for 2024. The first day has been completed. It is Max Verstappen who is fastest on a 131.344. Lando Norris is second on a 132.484. Carlos Sainz third, 132.584. Then we get Danny Ricciardo, 132.599. Pierre Gasly, 5th, 132.805. Stroll, 6th, 133.007 in an Aston Martin. How nice. Charles Leclerc, 7th from this morning, 133.247. Alonso, 8th, 133.385. Piastri, 9th, 133.658. Zhou rounds out the top 10 on a 133.871. Further down, Sargent is 11th, 133.882. Russell 12th, 134.109. Sonoda is 13th, 134.136. Bottas is 14th, 134.431. Albon's 15th, 134.587. Ocon 16th, 134.677. Magnussen is 17th on a 135.692. Hülkenberg 18th on a 135.906. And then Perez and Hamilton, the only two not to set a lap time in this session. Let's go around the room then, starting with Omi in the paddock. Omi, what did you make of testing today from what you've seen?
Interesting. Of course, hopefully the times do close as well. But an interesting first day, no red flags, so that was good. But I think it's going to get a bit more interesting for us in day 2 and day 3.
Josh T's in the pits too. I don't know if you're going to meet Mike. Josh, what did you make of it from what you've been seeing? Welcome back. What did you make of it? By the way, we're blocked now on JB Motorsports 2.
Beautiful.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I was only able to look at the timing screens around at the end of session 1 and at the start of session 2, and I've just seen the past half an hour. That wing mirror, the reaction from Daniel Ricciardo, he has still got it. Daniel Ricciardo, but yeah, for Fernando Alonso, good to see that he topped the first hour and a half, I believe it was as well.
Yep. Thanks, Josh T. Ed, what about you? What did you make of testing day 1?
Well, I was distracted by this little end of day 1 montage. It showed a bunch of small birds battling on track. but yeah, anyway, if that's not a metaphor for motor racing, I don't know what is. But anyway, I think it was the reliability was quite impressive. Like the only big thing that happened was, like you say, Stroll's mirror falling off, and that wasn't a major thing. Didn't lead to any punches, thankfully, for anyone behind him. Verstappen's still on top, but good to see RB in the form of Ricciardo setting a better competitive time. I think it's so difficult to read. I think even the team like Williams that didn't have a great test, didn't have a great day 1 in terms of reliability, I don't think there's any reason to panic just yet, because there's still plenty of 2 days left at least to catch up and get some track time for both their drivers. So but yeah, I think roll on day 2 and we'll see what happens.
Adam.
Yeah, I'll agree with what Ed said about Max Verstappen. You want to be the best, you have to beat the best, and right now, he is the best. And it was nice to see all the cars on track, after all the preseason launches. And I gotta say, I like that Kick Sauber's livery. I like the green. No, like I said earlier, we don't see a lot of green F1 cars, on the grid. And yeah, roll on for day 2.
Thank you, guys. Thanks to Megan as well for earlier on. My thanks to Jackson for turning up in the box too. So this is what is going to happen. Twitter, at JB Motorsports X. That is where you need to be for all the broadcasting information for day 2 and day 3 here of the F1 testing, as we are completely cut off from the JB Motorsports YouTube channels due to these strikes. So this is what's going to happen. Day 2 will air continuing live on Instagram like we have been today, and you can catch up on the vertical highlights as well because they've all been posted. So we're live on Instagram for this test as well. Tomorrow, we're also live on Facebook and USRN's YouTube channel. And then on JB Motorsports, we will also be premiering each session after they've been completed. So they'll be uploaded, premiered, and you can catch up if you're just coming home from work or if you're just waking up in the morning as well. So it's a perfect all-rounder, because I know that's actually been going quite well when we've done that just now. We apologise, we can't bring you any more. Hopefully on day 2 or either day 3, we'll be back on Twitch, but keep an eye on the JB Motorsports Twitter account, at JB Motorsports X, for all of the information. If you want to check out Instagram, it's at JB Motorsports IG. All the links are in the description below to where you can watch us live for days 2 and 3 of this pre-season test. Interesting first day, been a long one. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.